We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking so football, because we're the Miami.
And that is, of course, the Miami Dolphins fight song, and we are live tonight with another edition of the Fit Maniacs podcast. Last night we were with you for over 4 hours, and tonight we're doing it again, rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL draft, as we get set to see who the Miami Dolphins will take. Will they stay at 2? Will they trade down? Will they trade back into the 3rd? Lots of questions to be answered. But first, before we get started about tonight, because we'll have plenty of time to talk about tonight, let's take a quick recap back to last night. First, from the FitManiacs.com draft party, which was held and attended by over 30 people. Take a listen.
2015 NFL Draft. The Miami Dolphins select Devontae.
And that was the reaction at the Fit Maniacs draft party. Of course, wide receiver Devontae Parker selected by the Dolphins with the 14th overall pick. That was up in Connecticut. Down in Miami, they had a big, huge draft party, which Louis Sung attended. We'll talk about it in just a little bit. Let's take you back down there and hear what their reaction was like.
14th pick in the 2015 NFL Draft. The Miami Dolphins select Devontae.
And that was down in Miami. Of course, plenty of more people down in Miami than there were, obviously, at our draft party in Connecticut. But the reaction across the country, across, all Dolphins fans all over the place, I've very rarely seen today any negativity about drafting Devontae Parker, unless, of course, you're reading Omar Kelly's Twitter feed on the Sun Sentinel page. He's down about it, but what else is new? Louis, you were at the draft party last night down in Miami. Take us through it. What was the reaction there? What was the feeling in the air, as the pick got closer to the Dolphins? I know in the Fit Maniacs draft party room, we were all very anxious on the edge of our seats, waiting and hoping. When the Cleveland Browns were on the clock, we were hoping that Devontae Parker wouldn't be the pick. There was, just shifting gears real quick because I'm all over the place right now, when the St. Louis Rams drafted Todd Gurley, half of us cheered, half of us booed. So there's definitely mixed reaction on that. But, the Cleveland Browns, they passed up on Devontae Parker. The Minnesota Vikings passed up on Devontae Parker. And the Vikings actually picked first. And then, of course, we knew when the Saints were on the clock that they likely were not going to pick a wide receiver. We all exhaled when it got to the Dolphins and then prayed and hoped that they would make the right move. And, of course, they did. And you heard the reaction at the Fit Maniacs draft party. Lots of cheering, lots of clapping. Louis, what was it like down in Miami?
Oh, man, Matt, it was pandemonium down there. I mean, the first real issue that the fans had was when Amari Cooper came off of the board, and suddenly I heard a lot of booing and hissing and all that stuff, but that was to be expected because everybody wanted the best wide receiver available in the draft, whether you believe that's White or not. Ironically enough, Kevin White, the reaction down there actually was not that violent. They were like whatever. They seemed pretty much whatever about Kevin White. Either that or they were just really worried about it. But when Todd Gurley came off the board to the Rams, like you mentioned, the reaction was mixed. There was a lot of people who were upset about it. There were a lot of people who were actually relieved about this. I know I was relieved when Trey Waynes came off the board, and that made me like the happiest guy there for the day because I didn't have to deal with the idea of Trey Waynes, the one guy I would have been upset with more than anything else, being a Miami Dolphin. Once it was finally our turn, everybody was pretty much cheering at the top of their lungs before the pick was even made, and they pretty much knew, I guess, that it was going to be Devontae Parker because, I mean, who else could it have been? Even if it had been Marcus Peters or someone like that, that would have been okay. It was either Parker or Peters, and even a trade down would probably have been okay. But once Parker was the pick, the chanting of Parker came across. Everybody was pumping their fists in the air. Everybody was excited. Everybody was screaming, hollering, cheering. They got their guy. Devontae Parker was the one guy that everybody had been hoping for right from the beginning, and by some miracle, he managed to fall to 14, so we didn't even have to trade up to go get him. So needless to say, the draft party was an incredible success for the Dolphins, and with all the alumni there and all the fan bases there. The Gorillas were there, and the Dolphin Bandits were there. Everybody was there hanging out, having a great time, and just having Devontae Parker pretty much capped off an incredible night for them.
Yeah, I was told, you mentioned sitting put and not trading up. The Dolphins were very tempted to trade up with the St. Louis Rams to grab Parker, and were actually willing to split with their second-round pick. But it's a good thing. I think I heard that Stephen Ross jumped in and said no. Stephen Ross, for some reason, has been very involved with this draft process this year. And I'm not sure what exactly it is. Maybe he doesn't trust his guys as much. Maybe he thinks he's smarter than everyone else. Maybe he's just putting his foot down and being more assertive. I'm not sure exactly what it is. But they stayed put. They got Parker, and they got their guy. We were told last night through my sources, and then, of course, Dennis Hickey and Stephen Ross basically admitted it. Todd Gurley was the number one player on their board, followed by Amari Cooper, then followed by Devontae Parker. So to get a top 3 guy on their board at the 14th pick is absolutely incredible, and they're going to look to continue that good luck tonight. The scouting report on Devontae Parker from the Fin Maniacs Draft Guide, courtesy of Jeff Hyde, compares him to Hakeem Nicks, and also we've seen comparisons to A.J. Green. Ideal body size for NFL receiver, 6 foot 3 inches, 209 pounds, 80-inch wingspan. Instant target for their quarterback to aim for. Parker is terrific when the ball's in the air. His body control is the best in this year's draft and has the hands to bring down almost any pass. Parker only had 3 drops last year in his at the college at Louisville. He does need to refine his route running a little bit and run blocking at the next level. Can be a bit lazy at times with his routes. But he's a passionate guy who loves the game of football and is ready and willing to learn all the ins and outs of the game. And I think he's just going to be terrific for Ryan Tannehill. Should be penciled in as the number 1 starter, number 1 right receiver. We'll see if that happens. But I don't know if you've watched tape of him, Lewis, and what are your initial reactions of the guy?
I think that Devontae Parker, like everybody had been saying up until this point, he's been the guy that was 3rd best overall in the draft. I mean, it was him, it was Kevin White, and it was Amari Cooper. After that, the drop-off is either because of talent or because of off-the-field issues, if you want to bring up Dorial Green-Beckham. And even then, the issue with Green-Beckham is not even also all the off-the-field stuff. There's also the consideration of, well, he doesn't have very good route running because he doesn't have that many routes to run to begin with, and he has to make up for it with just his freak of nature athleticism. And, I mean, hey, we got what we wanted. But there was an interesting article that was written a while back, and it was not by our friend Omar Kelly. It was by someone on the Bleacher Report, I believe, and he basically outlined all of the positives of Devontae Parker. There were a lot of positives, to be sure, but there were reasons why he has some negatives attached to him, and one of the ones is that it seems that at times Parker will give up on a route if he feels like there's no way for him to get it. There was one, he said that he observed at least a few plays where he either did not high point the ball to the highest point, or the ball was going to fly over. The ball was flying over his head, and he just kind of gave up on the route before the ball actually landed on the ground. Which I guess, if you want to compare that to the Wallace kind of mentality, that'd be a problem. But Parker, I think for me, Parker makes up for it with the plays that he actually does make, because he makes more of an effort on things to begin with. I can say just personally, and I'm not a pro or anything like that, but whenever I would play football or basketball or something like that with my friends, if I see that a play is dead, I'm pretty much giving up on it too. But the issue, the difference between Wallace and Parker is that Wallace would give up before it seemed like the play was over, before it happened. If Parker didn't, Parker stopped after he knew that there was no way he was going to get it. That's I guess it's an interesting distinction. It depends on how you look at that kind of a thing, but it's a concern for at least the person who wrote this article. I'm not sure if you agree with that or not.
I'm sorry, what was the end of that? What was the end of that? I didn't catch you. Kind of faded in and out on my end.
Basically, I'm asking, do you agree with the assessment that Parker gives up on a play if he feels like there's no way he's going to be able to get to it? And is there a distinction? Yeah.
That's what Jeff wrote in his scouting report. I admittedly have not watched a lot of film on prospects because personally, I don't like to get all involved in that, and I'm busy enough updating the site and doing other stuff. So I don't like to get involved in watching all this film on guys and only for them not to end up on the Dolphins. So I will dive into some Parker tape once the draft is over. But from what I've read and from what people have said, yeah, he does get a little lazy sometimes and can give up on routes. And that's something Jeff mentioned in his scouting report. He needs to get better at that. He needs to learn to finish his routes. But I have no problem thinking that Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, Greg Jennings will absolutely mentor him. Remember, Devontae Parker was the alpha receiver at Louisville. No one told him what to do, okay? He told everyone else what to do. So when he comes in the NFL, he's a rookie. Greg Jennings will set the way for him. Jordan Cameron, Jarvis Landry. I think just being around Jarvis Landry is infectious. I don't even know the guy, and just watching him play is infectious, just the heart and everything else that he provides to the team. But I think, like I said, Devontae Parker should be penciled in as the number one wide receiver going into training camp, and it should be his job to lose. And Evan Silva had an updated depth chart last night, had Parker as the number one receiver, had Landry as the number two, or Stills as the number two, and then whoever was it, the number three, Jennings as the number four, and of course Matthews as the number five.
Okay, well, I'm not willing, Matt. I'm not willing to give Parker the job just yet. I mean, I'm of the idea of mindset that Parker needs to compete just like everybody else. I'm not giving anybody anything until they've earned it in training camp or something along the lines. If Greg Jennings happens to be a better player right now than Devontae Parker, then by all means let Jennings play. I'm not going to give anybody anything until they've earned it. I don't care if he is our first round draft pick. I expect him. There's a difference here. I expect him to win the job, but I am not going to just hand it to him on a silver platter. Because let's not forget that even Ryan Tannehill, our now franchise quarterback, had to try and beat out David Garrard and almost lost to David Garrard before he wound up getting the starting job. So I'm not going to give anybody anything until they've earned it, and that Parker is no exception.
I agree. You say that, Lewis, and probably the coaches agree with you because we know that they like to make people prove themselves in practice. If they don't prove themselves on the practice field, then they're not going to get on the playing field. So, you're probably right in line with what the coaching staff is thinking. Of course, you're right. He's going to have to earn and going to have to prove himself. But I think he will. I think he will make that step and hopefully form this bond with Ryan Tannehill. It's been a while since the Dolphins have, at least on paper for right now, an alpha receiver. And it's going to be fun to watch this coming season.
Yeah, I expect it to be a lot of fun. Okay. I see Chad is there in the chat, and he says he's going to be limited, but he's going to try and jump in whenever he can.
All right, Chad, do you want to jump in right now, or are you on the clock right now?
Sure, no, I can talk right now. What topic are you guys on?
Thoughts on Devontae Parker?
Oh, I thought it was a great pick. At the time, I thought their two options were to either trade down or pick Devontae Parker. And you were listening to the podcast last night. It was pretty crazy. You could hear everybody going nuts at the Miami Stadium. And I don't recall in memory going through the draft where we were talking about a player, as fast as the third or fourth overall pick. Literally, when I was sitting there with Jeff, we were basically strategizing how the draft had to fall for Devontae Parker to get to the Dolphins. So we had that feeling in your stomach where it's like, oh, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. Don't take somebody else. And the only other option I thought they had was to trade down. And I figured they were taking a lot of calls because they took the full allotment of time on the pick. But, it's a pick that solidifies their receiving core for several seasons now. He was the exact type of receiver they needed. He's got vertical speed. He's got height to go up and get the ball. And he's a great complement to put in there with Jarvis Landry and Kenny Stills. So I completely understand the pick. There really wasn't, the highest needs, in my opinion, for the Dolphins are offensive guard and inside linebacker. And there really wasn't somebody there that I think you could justify taking with the 14th overall pick. Those are positions that historically you can fill in the middle rounds of the draft, and I'm hoping that we'll see that happen tonight. Maybe they'll get a starting caliber guard, or maybe they'll get lucky and something crazy will happen and Kendricks will fall to them, or they'll be able to get their hands on Denzel Perryman. So a lot of options for him. So I thought it was a great pick.
And I see now that we have our other friend Ryan Tyre. Is that how I say your last name, man? Ryan Tyre?
Fire with a TH.
Oh, Thyre. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So let me ask you something, man. Now that we actually have Devontae Parker, what do you expect his impact to be as far as fantasy goes?
Well, I'd say the beginning of the year, I'm definitely not going to start him at the beginning of the year. It's not very common you see a fantasy impact like last year's class had. Odell Beckham obviously was a huge impact, but he was, 7 weeks into the season before he started putting up numbers. Evans, some of those guys last year put up numbers right away that you usually don't see right away. I think it'll take Parker, a little bit, because fantasy is all about touchdowns. So I would say, he's worth drafting and stashing, but fantasy impact starting the year is maybe a wide receiver 3 with a chance to go up.
Yeah, I can see that. Definitely Devontae Parker is going to be an impact later on. I don't expect him to get there first or anything. In fact, I honestly feel like that a better investment as far as fantasy goes, and I'm definitely not going to try and pretend that I'm a fantasy football expert, because heaven knows that I only made it to the playoffs for my fantasy league by luck, purely luck, because I had already given up. But I would definitely assume that Kenny Stills and Jarvis Landry would be better investments right now. And Parker will eventually get there once he earns his starting job, because like I said, I fully expect him to earn it eventually. But as of right this second, it would probably be Jarvis Landry and maybe even Kenny Stills that'd be a better investment as far as that goes.
Right now, I would probably start Devontae Parker over Kenny Stills until I see Stills is going to be. If Stills part of the offense is what he was in New Orleans, is a big play threat. I think he's going to be a lot harder to start on a week-to-week basis in a fantasy perspective. So at this point, if I had to go between the two, I would start Devontae Parker over Kenny Stills right now.
Okay, fair enough. You're the fantasy expert here, not me. Like I said, I got there by luck. I didn't do anything special. I just got lucky. People were laughing at me when I made my picks.
We should ask Chad. I do a league with Chad, and he always ends up at a 25-man roster, and he always somehow seems to end up with every single Dolphin on the Dolphins roster on his team. Maybe Chad's not there anymore.
No, Chad's there. He's kind of there. He's just not there.
Let's shift our attention real quick before the draft begins again tonight in about 3 minutes. Real quick, Todd Gurley was an option for the Dolphins, and they were going to pick him if he fell at 14. Are you guys disappointed about that, or is that okay? He's going to get picked.
No, I'm not really disappointed. We got our guy. The only reason I never talked about Todd Gurley and wanting Gurley was if, and I put an emphasis on this, if Devontae Parker was already gone. As it turned out, it went the opposite way. Gurley went first, and we got Parker. I got my guy. I'm happy with what I have. So as far as I'm concerned, we're good to go. We got Devontae Parker. Now we can move on and do things. Apparently, we're going to do things tonight because Dolphins are apparently ready to get wild tonight via a report by Armando Salguero of the Miami Herald. I don't know what getting wild means, but I would assume they're going to be moving around a lot tonight. They're going to be probably trying to stockpile draft picks, maybe a trade that sends Rashard Matthews out of here since he's not really all that happy as of right now. And of course, I'm pretty much making that speculation myself. There hasn't been any kind of confirmed as of lately Rashard Matthews' attitude towards the Dolphins. But I would assume that after wiping out the wide receiver core and getting his hopes up that he was finally going to get to play, and then suddenly bringing in all these new wide receivers, and once again he's projected to be at the bottom of the depth chart again, I would assume that he's not too happy. So maybe getting a late-round pick for Matthews and then using that kind of ammunition to move up or move down, or maybe even just move around all the way tonight, that's something that we could see happening.
It definitely sounds like there is some crazy stuff playing, like you just mentioned. Armando Salguero, Stephen Ross. Armando Salguero described it as a Vince McMahon WWE strut into the practice bubble. Says to Dennis Hickey, "You guys ready to get wild tonight?" And then he turns to Salguero and says, "We got some stuff planned." So it's going to be interesting, and I could just picture Stephen Ross walking into that bubble doing exactly that with Mike Tannenbaum's cheesy smile, Stephen Ross's cheesy smile, and Dennis Hickey just giggling away in the corner with probably Joe Philbin, a silent stare, blank stare on his face, just saying, yeah, all right, let's go. But, in terms of that, we'll see what happens. I don't know. I mean, there's not much currently with the second-round pick. Yeah, they can trade down. I don't think they're going to trade up unless they somehow package it with Rashard Matthews or something like that. Who are they going to trade? I would say the only person that I think they might trade is Rashard Matthews. What do you think?
I don't have a problem with trading Rashard Matthews. I mean, like I said, I like the guy. He's tough. He's got something special in him. I can tell he's got some fire in him. The problem is he's lost the favor, at least it seems that way, of the coaching staff. And because of this, now you have to assume that we're looking to see if there's anybody willing to take Matthews off our hands at this point. He's shown a lot. He's shown his talent. I'm not denying that he's talented. But, I mean, it hurts, man. It really does. I feel sorry for the guy because for once it seemed like he was actually going to get a real shot to make a name for himself, and then suddenly all these guys show up once again, and they're going to ruin it for him again. I think that Matthews could probably fetch a 5th or 6th rounder. Probably the 5th rounder is the best possible option. But, I mean, other than that, trading Matthews would probably only give us some ammo to move going later, just to, maybe draft up and get some more picks later on or something like that. I don't know what the plan is. I'm not going to pretend to know the plan. The fact that Stephen Ross is hinting that things are going to be completely unpredictable, maybe that's some kind of a smokescreen to get people willing to negotiate with the Dolphins. We really don't know at this point. Everything could be a smokescreen. He could be telling the truth, and people assume it's a smokescreen. It's a mixed bag, and I don't know what to make of it.
Well, obviously we'll see in just a little bit. The second round is now officially underway with the Houston Texans on the clock. We're now going to shift to the rest of the NFL. And Ryan, feel free to unmute yourself and chime in whenever you please. Chad, same deal with you. Houston Texans, they could take Dorial Green-Beckham here. They can take a probably not a running back unless it's like Duke Johnson, but that's kind of high for him. Where do you think the Houston Texans are going to go here? They also need a cornerback, so they might think about taking one here.
Did the Texans trade up?
Are the Texans on the clock, or am I wrong on that?
The Tennessee Titans are on the clock.
I'm sorry. That's completely my fault.
No,
so
that's all right.
Back. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock.
I was looking for a trade.
Yeah, no, good catch. The Titans are on the clock. They got their quarterback in Marcus Mariota. Do they go offensive line and add him some protection? Do they pick a wide receiver to help him out in the passing game? Where do you think they go here?
If I'm Titans, I'm going to get some weapons to give to their new quarterback, assuming Mariota even sticks around to begin with. I'm still not totally convinced that Mariota is going to be a Tennessee Titan in the next few days. He's a Tennessee Titan now.
So you're telling me the Titans are going to draft Mariota, number 2, just to trade him?
Well, I don't believe John Elway was drafted by the Denver Broncos. Or am I thinking of someone else?
You're correct. He got traded.
Repeat what you said.
He was drafted by the Colts.
And I'm sure the Colts made a killing on getting John Elway.
I just don't see how the Titans would trade away Mariota.
Why? Mariota doesn't really fit what they do. Mariota's not a pocket passer or anything like that. He's more of a gimmicky Chip Kelly kind of quarterback, and I'm still not convinced that Chip Kelly has closed the door on that deal.
Am I coming through here, guys?
Now you are. There you go. Hi, Chad.
I have to disagree with Lewis. The difference with
well, now we're back to normal then.
Yeah, we're back to normal. So with Elway and the other similar pick would have been Eli Manning. The factor in those is that the player himself was refusing to play for the team. Elway did not want to play for Baltimore, and as Eli Manning did not want to play for the Chargers. And so what had happened in those cases was they were the obvious best player on the board value-wise, so the team took him, and then with having more time, they worked the trade out. I think the Titans need the quarterback, and I think what they are going to do is try to shop Mecklenburg now to a team maybe like a Jets or a Buffalo team, or if a quarterback gets hurt in the preseason or something, you might see the Titans do that. But I think they're going with Mariota with their quarterback, and I'd be surprised if they trade him now at this point. I mean, I think they had some pretty big offers. I do think Chip Kelly made a run at him. I guess it'd be possible that maybe he would up the ante a little bit to try to go get him, but I don't see it happening. That's my thought.
I don't know. I'm still not convinced that Chip Kelly's going to let his guy go that easily. I'm thinking that I still think that something might happen. I mean, look at how much they were going to offer the Titans just so they could move up and get Mariota. I mean, and assuming that's even a true report, because if it is a true report, then I would honestly believe that Chip Kelly has lost it. But I mean, 2 first-round picks, a Boykin and a Michael Kendricks, who we'd be dying to get our hands on. Just, man, that is a lot for one guy. And not only that, it's for one guy who a lot of us don't necessarily believe is going to be this super elite quarterback worth giving up all that stuff for. That'd be something along the lines of something that they were giving RG3. And guys, are you watching right now?
There has been a trade. The Giants have moved up to the spot.
All right, this is very interesting. So we got the Giants moving up to the Tennessee Titans spot, pick 33, the first pick in round 2. Who can they be targeting here? They drafted offensive line in the first round. It seems like they got the receivers set. Are they going after Randy Gregory? I don't know. This is very interesting.
If they're going after a pass rusher, go ahead, Chad.
I'd keep Kendricks in mind too. I mean, at this point in the second round.
Oh boy.
Still,
that's Kendricks right here. That's going to disappoint a lot of Dolphins fans.
I'm already kind of resigned. I don't think he's going to make it to Miami here in the second round. But it's possible. But he's a very talented, immediate starting 3-down linebacker. So that's the player I'm going to be watching closely here.
Well, I heard the Dolphins are interested more in Denzel Perryman.
That's who I'm more interested in. But
yeah, I know, Chad. You love the pounder.
But I think at this point, if a team needs a starting linebacker and Kendricks is on there, you start to get into that talent level where he would be worth, giving up a 3rd or 4th round pick with your number 2 to go up and get him. So I'm not sure what the Giants gave up. But.
Good point by someone in our chat room. Fins up 2015. They think the Giants are going to take Landon Collins, the safety. They're saying
that's a solid pick too. I mean, you're in that when you get into the first half of the second round, you get the players that would be ranked as first-round picks that are still kind of hanging around. So that would be a fit for the Giants. Collins would as well. So that would be my.
Collins is the number 1 rated player left on Mike Mayock's board. So.
Okay, well, Mike Mayock thinks that he has to put a safety there somewhere, and I still don't think Landon Collins is worth it. And neither did apparently the Green Bay Packers, who picked that guy Randall first.
That was confusing in my 32 thoughts on 32 teams column today. The Packers drafted Clinton Dix last year. I know maybe they want to get the 2 young safeties going over there, but that was kind of a...
Matt, just hearing you say like that just made me chuckle. I couldn't help it.
Says the guy who said they were going to double team someone on the internet.
Anyways,
Anyways, let's go back to the Giants. I think we're already talking about the Giants. So, offensive line, I think they're set. I think they're set at receiver. This could be this looks like it's going to be on defense, linebacker, safety, or defensive end. I would say it's going to be Randy Gregory. It's going to be, like Chad mentioned, Eric Kendricks maybe, or Landon Collins.
Well, is the pick in? It doesn't look like it is.
Lewis, I'm not sure. I'm on my iPad. I'm on a delay, so I'm going to be relying on you.
I'm on cable. Okay, now the pick is in.
Yeah, so I'm relying on you tonight to tell us in real time as the picks come in.
I'm not at real time. By the time I got to see it, Chad and Jeff were already giving me updates. So I'm gonna be the least delayed of all of us.
So the trade details that the Giants and Titans swapped their second-round pick. The Giants also gave up their fourth-round pick and their seventh-round pick for this.
The fourth round, a fourth rounder and a seventh rounder. I mean, hey, every pick counts, right? And that's
It
gonna
sounds
give
like
them
the pick.
that's
Sorry.
more ammo.
Sounds like the pick will be Landon Collins.
Are you saying that because of what's going on Twitter, or are you making that assumption?
No, I'm just watching on NFL Network as well.
Okay.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, the Giants need some safety help.
The Giants need help everywhere.
Yeah, but he is a starting caliber. I know he's it's a weak safety class in the draft in general, but I really thought he was going to go yesterday. As did he. That was one of the guys that I feel bad for those guys when they show up to the draft and they get through all that process and then they sit there all night and they don't get drafted. So I'm sure he's eager to get on a team somewhere right now, but. It makes a lot of sense to me for the Giants to bring him in. He's probably better than anything you're going to bring in at this point.
Okay, guys, here we go. The Giants selection. Who is this that's coming on the stage? There's a lot of booing, which is understandable. Let's see.
So we'll see if some Dolphins dream of Eric Kendricks is being shot right down the drain at the very top of the draft, or if they're going to go in fact with Landon Collins and make that dream alive continue for the Dolphins fans. Or, like I mentioned,
Sean Williams is the man making the pick. Who's the pick?
Landon Collins.
The pick has been announced, and the pick
Landon
is
Collins. You called it, Ryan.
Also, Fins up 2015 in the chat room. Nice job calling this pick. Thoughts on Landon Collins, guys?
Meh. That's my thought.
Let me pull up the scouting report that we have in the Fin Maniacs draft guide. Just give me a quick second here to pull it up. The number 2 rated safety in the Fin Maniacs draft guide report was done by Justin Capriotti. Here we go. Compared to Williams Moore, second ideal draft round. Is a solid bet to be a long-term starter in a league at strong safety. Justin thought that he could have been a first-round pick just because of the lack of depth, the safety position in this draft. But still, he saw himself struggling with the first-round pick for Collins. Collins is a very good player, but does lack the traits that many of the elite safeties in the league win with. Capriotti says that Collins is a willing and gritty tackler, wants to be involved with every play and makes the play when he gets there, shows the ability to man up most receiver and tight ends, but will struggle with the shiftier, smaller receivers. Collins has very good instincts and sees the field well. Capriotti's major concern with Collins is his lack of agility and fluidity. Fluidity? Whatever that word is.
Fluidity.
He's tightly wound in the hips and it can get the best of him far too often. His instincts attempt to make up for his lack of speed, but his range is not there yet. So that's really the lowdown on Landon Collins. I know you guys said meh, but anything more in depth than that?
Yeah, well, you got to think about in today's NFL. You go back 10 years ago, and you were really looking for some heavy hitters. If you think Dolphins, you think Louis Oliver, Steve Atwater from the Broncos. You were looking for safeties that could come up and really pop some running backs. And in today's NFL, it's turned into such a passing league. You need safeties that really have good coverage skills and have the ability to cover guys in man-to-man coverage at times as you roll your defense around. And that's, as you go through your scouting report, that's the question on Landon Collins is, can he keep up in pass coverage, or is he going to be a player that, you're going to have to pull him out at times on, third and long plays? Is he going to be able to do that? And so that's the real question mark on him. I'm sure, he'll be a lot of work, you know, from the Giants and try to work on that. But he's one of those guys where I'd say he's NFL ready. You can put him in and you can start him from the opening day of the season, but he's probably going to have more of a limited ceiling. Maybe not a guy that you're looking for to become one of the elite safeties in the league. But, you know, once you get into the second round, that's not an uncommon thing you're looking for. You're looking for players you can come in and play right away. They can play at a good level, even if they're not going to be, you know, guys that are going to be dominant. That would be my thought.
The pick is already in for Tampa Bay. This is they didn't waste any time.
I have a real good feeling they're going to go offensive tackle here.
I was going to pick T.J. Clemens here.
Yeah, I think so. T.J. Clemens or Jake Fisher. That has to be. I'd be shocked if it was anything else. They need to get Jameis Winston some new protection. Looking at the Tampa Bay draft war room right now, you know, that's a bittersweet feeling for me. I was in that room in October on my interview with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, finished in second place for the job. And just thinking about it, you know, I'd be there right now. Not in the war room, of course, but right outside the war room in the office area, tweeting about their picks and updating the website. But, you know, I guess it was not to be. So that's a bittersweet feeling looking at the Tampa Bay draft this year and all the shots that are coming in on them. Anyways, enough sentimental stuff for me.
Hey, we're going to be on for like 4 hours. Save the stories for later.
I have tons of stories. We can get all into my personal life too. I'll tell you everything about me. So, you know, I think it's T.J. Clemens or Jake Fisher here. We'll see. We'll see once they officially announce the pick. But it has to be offensive line, and those two seem like the logical picks right here.
Yeah, Tampa's a team that has
Mike Allstott is doing the announcement for the Bucs. Wow, Mike Allstott is a name for you.
He's a great fullback. Yeah, he was old schooler.
I used to pick him up in Madden all the time just because of his nasty and gritty ability. I just love that guy.
Donovan Smith. Okay. Well, he's a tackle, but he's not who you guys were expecting.
This is interesting. I'm going to pull up I'll be giving the scouting reports for all the players as they come in. Donovan Smith. Wow. He was our 10th rated offensive tackle in our scouting guide, completed by Gabriel Burns. Strong tackle that needs a good bit of work. Penn State left school early, to many people's surprise, and has used the offseason to help his stock take shape. But again, still needs a lot of work. Uses strength to outpower opponents, notably in the run game where he was able to create a lot of movement. The athletic thing about him is his quickness. Has flashes, but his position is a question. Gabriel thinks he lacks the traits to be a starting left tackle early on, though in the long run a team could mold him into one if it so chooses. Calls Smith not a very good athlete by any stretch. Many scouts see him as a guard for now, and Burns agrees with that assessment. Burns says that at his size, he is likely to better utilize his strength and avoid faster pass rushers by playing on the interior. Says he isn't a good finisher, so that must improve at the pro level. Work ethic has been questioned, with some tagging him lazy at times. According to those who witnessed him at the Senior Bowl, though, he was hardworking and quite impressive. Smith's power should not be taken for granted, as he will be able to generate push even early in his career. If a team plays Smith on the outside to start his career, expect early struggles. Ideally, he plays guard out of the gate, and his bosses can decide how he can best be utilized going forward. He has a lot of work to do at All right, looks like Lewis is away, but
I'm here now.
That was the scouting report. Did you guys hear that? Did that come through, or was I on mute?
I heard it come through loud and clear, and God, it just screams developmental player. Which, gosh, that seems like a.
Did that scouting report come through, guys?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. There's no problem.
I just was going to say, that scouting report screams developmental player, which seems like a stretch for that high in the draft. That sounds more like a mid-round guy you're trying to come in and develop. So usually in the second round, you're looking for starting caliber players still, not developmental. So I assume that, you guys have heard me probably say this too much. I sound like a broken record, but I always go for my inclusion criteria first on a player I'm going to draft in the first couple rounds, and I need to see him dominate against top-level competition, and that's something this guy has not done. So they're kind of going off how he looked in his Senior Bowl, maybe how his combine numbers looked, but that usually doesn't translate to a player that starts right away in the NFL. So maybe they know something we don't, but so far that's one of the bigger stretches in the entire draft, even though we're in the second round, I would say.
Well, the Lovie Smith thing, wasn't Love. I think it was Lovie Smith who always said that he trusts his own system and he trusts his own coaching acumen. I think, so I guess he believes that he can develop Donovan Smith quicker than most others, and the pick is in already for Oakland, so they didn't waste any time either. So the speculation is it could be Randy Gregory or somebody like that. Honestly, I think they're going to – if I were the Raiders at this point, I would get as many weapons as I could possibly get around the young quarterback, Derek Carr. And if we've ever heard the whole stereotype of what it means to be an Oakland Raider, I think if anybody would fit this team, I think honestly, and Jeff is probably going to hate me for this because that means he's not going to be in Miami, but we knew that already. Dorial Green Beckham. He fits the Oakland Raider.
It makes sense, Lewis, but with them adding Amari last night from Alabama, to take two receivers, bang bang for the Raiders. They have some receiving talent there. Not that it wouldn't shock me. Anything the Raiders do doesn't shock me, to be honest, for the years I watched them in the draft. But they have so many holes right now to fill. They can use defensive player. Gregory would be a wise pick for them. I think they need him. It wouldn't shock me if they maybe start a running back here off the board too. They could still use another running back in Oakland. So they need to be able to generate some points for sure. They're in a high scoring division, going up against Peyton Manning with the Broncos, and then having Kansas City in there as well. The Raiders they need to have some help for the quarterback. So if it's not Gregory, I would look at offensive line or running back, I want to say.
How about you, Ryan?
This team is also very cornerback needy. They need cornerbacks. They need safeties. They're very weak in the defensive backfield. I don't know. Are there any cornerbacks out there right now that would be worth a spot here?
I'd have to let me actually pull up the draft guide. I don't know why I didn't do this earlier.
Who are we talking about right now?
Jalen Collins. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Jalen Collins or a P.J. Williams go here. They're horrible in their defensive backfield.
Yeah, P.J. Williams would be a solid pick for them too. Yeah, that's a good point, right?
You guys talking about the Raiders?
Yeah, we're talking who we're projecting the Raiders to take here.
Yeah. I don't know. I could see them going defensive line here. They might need some help there. They struggled, obviously. You want to keep on building around Khalil Mack. You're right, Jalen Collins, but some people might be scared of his drug testing, the failed drug test that he's had at LSU. I don't know.
I think Gregory is one of the players who's still featuring first-round talent yet, as well as Kendricks. Those are the two players that are first-round caliber players that could both help him. But
the question is, can he stay off the weed?
Yeah, that is the question. But once you get into these second rounds, you start weighing the benefit of what's their talent level versus what are their troubles. So the Raiders have never been a team to shy away from off-the-field troubles.
Hey, this is going to be completely – okay, here we go. Who's this guy who's coming in? It's like they pull all these guys out of the woodwork.
Yeah, I think it's all the alumni. All the alumni usually are announcing.
Wow, he's old.
I forgot. I think Dwight Stevenson is doing it for the Dolphins.
Oh, I love Dwight Stevenson. That's awesome.
Willie Brown from 1963. I wouldn't even develop an eyelids yet.
He was either a defensive back or a receiver, I want to say, Willie Brown. That's before my time, too, but I'm not that old.
Let's see what the pick is.
Happy Mother's Day, dude who's really old and was there before even my father was born.
Have they announced a pick yet?
because he's talking.
Mario Edwards.
All right, we're just waiting on the pick here to come in.
It was Mario Edwards Jr.
Also, Ryan has it first.
Defensive end, Florida State.
Oh, another one
The
from
Raiders are very unpredictable, so it might be someone we don't expect.
They don't trust Gregory to stay off the weed.
All right, Mario Edwards from Florida State University. So it was someone on the defensive line. I was right on that one. Let's pull up his scouting report, see what he's all about. Let's see here, defensive end. He could be also defensive tackle. Here we go.
You don't have a search function on your iPad?
No, I'm not on my iPad. I'm on my laptop as well.
Oh, then just search up Mario Edwards.
All right, Mario Edwards. Scouting report done by Shasky Clark. Had somewhat a disappointing career at Florida State after entering the program as a campus recruit. Some chalked it up to a lack of want to and maturity, but he has, of course, improved quite a bit since. Other things about Edwards. He's a very good athlete for his size with a surprising change of direction, but he is not quite athletic and dynamic enough to play as an edge rusher. Edwards should have been playing in more of a full-time role as an interior defender where his athleticism would create mismatches. Best positions, according to Clark, to be at the 3-4 end and a 4-3 defensive tackle. To be there, he says that Edwards needs to add more bulk, but if you can successfully transition to these positions, Edwards has an extremely high ceiling as a dynamic interior rusher. Compares him to Ray McDonald. Ideal draft round for Edwards is the second. Thoughts? Lewis, Chad, any thoughts, or are you stepped away for a second? All right, they'll come back in just a few seconds, but this pick kind of makes sense for the Raiders. They needed some help on the defensive line. They obviously want to build a defense around Khalil Mack. In the first round, they selected Amari Cooper, so they got their offensive pick there. And they're going to have good picks in the third round and the fourth, and there's a lot of middle depth in this class. And they're going to do a great job of building the roster. I actually was a big fan of Mario Edwards coming into the draft, and I really liked what I saw from him. Lewis, you're back. Thoughts on Edwards?
Greg Jones. No Maurice Jones-Drew, though, huh?
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
The Jaguars are up.
The Jaguars just picked T.J. Yeldon, running back from Alabama.
Wow.
All right, wow. So
Okay, then.
this is nuts.
Everything's falling the way we would want it to, guys. Unbelievable.
I was just gonna say,
exactly
these
right. We want
linebackers-
this.
No,
I have
this
to
is
say on this, I'm surprised that T.J. Yeldon went before Tevin Coleman here.
Yeah, me
this
too.
is one I'm surprised
I'm
at.
stunned. I'm shocked.
even Duke Johnson went ahead of Duke Johnson, went ahead of Ajayi. Oh, my goodness.
Ajayi has problems with his knees that came back during the course of the last couple weeks.
Right.
Does Yeldon have? Oh, but Yeldon's an Alabama guy.
Let's look at the scouting report about Yeldon by Justin Capriati. He thinks that Yeldon had a very underappreciated career. Some people are concerned he doesn't display the power that a big back should have, but Capriati believes the issue lies within his pad level rather than his pure strength. Runs too high and leaves receiver and holds up as a blocker, carries his size well in control of his body, able to contort himself and move east to west like many smaller backs. Relentless runner that seeks out contact. Says Yeldon is not a home run hitter, not going to break off many long runs, doesn't display great burst overall, will miss some holes before the line of scrimmage. And there are injury concerns that will need to get worked out. Capriati doesn't see Yeldon on an Ed Lacy level, but he should carve out a role for himself, much like Mark Ingram has done in New Orleans. Says the ideal draft round for Yeldon is the second, compares him to Larry Johnson. I know there was a little discussion about that. What do you guys think?
I think it's a little bit of a reach. He does complement Denard Robinson pretty well. He'll obviously be the power running back for Jacksonville. Yeah, I want to say I'm looking up his combine records here, and he was a 4.6 40, so he's not like lightning fast or anything, and he only had 22 reps on the bench, so he's not like a superior athlete, but he is 226 pounds. I think Larry Johnson comparison is a stretch. He seems more like a Daniel Thomas to me. But, it's hard to say. That it is a need that Jacksonville had. It was a short yardage back, and it'll kind of be the complement, I suppose, with Denard Robinson would be my idea of what they're going to do with him.
As far as I'm concerned, this is a whatever pick for the Jaguars. It is the Jaguars just looking for more weapons for their young quarterback. Yeldon will probably do well, and there's not like the running backs that's there now is not really all that impressive. So, I mean, hey, you got to get something somewhere.
When Matt read the scouting report, it screamed to me a guy they already have out there, Toby Gerhardt.
He gets hurt all the time. Isn't that the difference?
Well, Gerhardt's hurt. They lack breakaway speed. Just a lot of the stuff he said screams Toby Gerhardt. How many Toby Gerhardts do you need in your backfield before you find a real somebody who has breakaway speed that can make the big play for you?
Well, you could start with Toby Gerhardt, who's not hurt all the time.
I'm assuming he's dropping because of small school, but the guy I'm keeping an eye on is UNI, David Johnson. I'm sure you remember him, Ryan. He absolutely torched the Hawkeyes, but that guy has the same relative size here that you're looking at with TJ Yeldon, but he's significantly faster as a home run hitter. So, but he's small school, so I mean, this guy's Alabama, so you have a better film review on competition he went up against. So, in terms of as a Dolphin fan, this is going exactly how I want. I want to see some of these reaches early in the second, so Miami could be getting into a position to definitely get a solid player. So I'd be stunned if we had Kendricks fall, but even so, there's some significant offensive line talent falling too, which is great news for us.
Linebackers, running backs, guards, they're all. This board is falling scarily good for us. I can't believe it's honestly. I'm honestly stunned by how well this is going at this point.
Yeah, definitely. So
the Jets are on the clock now, and
the pick is already in.
Boo! Boo!
Boo! Boo! Did you guys hear the booing that was happening during the Jets pick?
I did. I thought amazing, I was saying earlier, Lewis, is how bad people wanted Devontae Parker was hearing how crazy everybody was going when he fell into Miami. Like, they just went nuts. So it was pretty neat.
Yeah, one point. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if anybody thinks this is where somebody like the Jets serious need of a quarterback. Do they jump on a Bryce Petty here, on a Hundley?
I think they might.
They're not
because, well, I know, but a lot of people are saying the Bills have put a lot of work into him, and so the Jets may be like trying to just block the Bills from getting him in general, and they need a quarterback anyway. So
okay, who do you guys think? Who do you think is going to announce the pick? Just out of curiosity, let's see.
Joe Namath.
A drunk Joe Namath.
Curtis Martin.
Curtis Martin, really interesting.
Listen,
I don't know. I'm guessing.
Listen, Joey Philbs on Twitter at the Dolphin Joe just made a great point. Says, I wonder if Petty and Hundley are there if someone makes nice offer to Miami to hot Buffalo. That's a good point. If they're still on the board when the Dolphins pick, a lot of quarterback needy teams might jump up in front of Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, if Kendricks is on the board, I'd say no way if you can get the player that. But if the offensive line's falling where you want, I would probably have a nice smile on my face and say, sure, I'll help you hose Buffalo here.
Okay, it's not Martin, it's not Namath.
So you think that they're going to go offensive line in the second round, not linebacker?
What do I think? I think if Kendricks is there, I would think they would take him. Maybe
I heard they like
Perryman's there.
better.
I would
Emerson
rather take
Boozer.
Perryman, but I think Perryman most likely will be there. But if the top linebackers are gone, then I would just take maybe an Ali Marpet.
The pick is Devin Smith.
Devin Smith,
A
interesting.
pure burner. So he's just fast. That's about all he's got.
Yep. So basically, who's going to throw him the ball?
Geno Smith.
Yeah. All right.
I've seen Devin Smith. He's got some pretty exciting playmaking ability. He's a solid player. This is an example of how stacked the draft was at wide receiver. But the Jets desperately need skill players to put points on the board. They've put together like an all-pro defense and have a horrendous offense. So they need to add people that can score points from anywhere on the field. And Devin Smith is a guy that can do that out of Ohio State.
How else you score points, Chad? By throwing the football well.
Yeah, that's why
or elite average.
Here's the scouting report on Devin Smith from Jeff Hyde. Compares him to Deshaun Jackson, ideal draft round as the second. Ability to take the top off the defense with the threat of his speed allowed for big plays down the field. Opened up the opportunity for other receivers to be productive underneath him for the running game to develop. He will provide the NFL team with the same scenario. Teams will be forced to account for Smith's straight line speed. Smith can be used as a playmaker at this level with a high level of quarterback play at the next level, which the Jets don't have. Smith's speed in combination with his subtle downfield moves will allow greater potential for game-breaking plays, especially in play-action situations. Smith will need to improve his overall game. However, he wants to avoid the label of a one-trick pony. He needs to improve his downfield blocking, his intermediate route running, and his focus on the deep ball. I think the Jets kind of reached here and wanted that speed guy and kind of reached a little bit for Devin Smith here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree, Matt. But I think they're in a position where they've, yesterday they took best player available. Granted, Leonard Williams is a great talent. I can't blame them, but they're horrifically short right now on offense. You've got Geno Smith with no receivers, no great running backs there right now. And I was jokingly saying,
Ivory. Oh, you're comparing the NFL Network is comparing Devin Smith to Mike Wallace. That's a bad thing. Oh my gosh, you people don't understand, do you?
No,
being compared to Wallace is bad.
Devin Smith is a vertical fast guy that the Jets, like I said, my question is how are they going to score points? And I was jokingly saying yesterday when they drafted Leonard Williams, they're going to have to be winning games like 7-3 or 14-10 because they're not going to be able to score points and they're going to have to rely on their defense to try to win their games. So Devin Smith gives them a guy that's probably raw. I mean, he's not an accomplished wide receiver, but he is a guy that will force you to respect the deep ball to him. The question is, are you going to respect it when he's probably not a advanced route runner and you've got Geno Smith trying to chuck the ball up to him? So that's going to be interesting. But, the Jets are in a position where I thought they might actually go Darrell Green Beckham and just roll the dice that they can, keep him together. But they don't. So the good question is he Mike Wallace or is he another Ohio State memory of Ted Ginn Jr.?
Is either one of them good?
I would much rather have Wallace than Ted Ginn Jr., but
true enough. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned,
I'm stunned the way this is falling for the Dolphins. This is exactly what we want: are people taking, wide receivers? Please take wide receivers right now. We've got our wide receiver position set. We want linemen and linebackers falling to us. So this is great.
Sam Monson from Pro Football Focus says that Mike Wallace is a horrible comparison for Devin Smith, Daniel Jeremiah. Similar speed, totally different ability to go get it. And I see, because our friend Duke, Chris Early from the Finsiders, but passer rating, though. Yeah, pretty much.
No, I actually don't disagree with that. I think Devin Smith is a guy you're going to have to try to game plan to get the ball into his hands in space, and not a guy you want to throw it down the field that just goes and gets it. And so that, that's a Mike Wallace trait to me, even though I would say Mike Wallace far superior, even as a rookie, probably where Devin Smith is at. But, that's why we went and got, Devontae Parker is you want guys that, Des Bryant's a great example from the Cowboys of an elite guy where if it's one-on-one coverage, you don't even care, if he's open or not. If you see that one-on-one coverage, you're just throwing it up in the air because he's so hard to defend one-on-one. And that's not the type of player you're getting in Devin Smith. He's a guy they're going to probably try to throw shorter routes to, get it into his hands, and then let him use his athletic ability to make plays. That's what I'm guessing.
Oh, I see somebody making a good point on Twitter. Why are we talking about Geno Smith's targets when it's actually going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick's targets?
Yeah, it could be, but yeah. Either way, Fitzpatrick is not he's a bottom tier quarterback. He's average at best. So either way, that's the way I would look at it.
But if you're a franchise, would you rather have average at best in Fitzpatrick or horrible at best in Geno Smith?
It depends
And
on
there
what you're
was
trying to do.
somebody else that I saw.
If
Yeah,
if
go
I'm just trying to make the playoffs,
ahead.
you're taking the Buffalo route where they played Kyle Orton last year, because that was a head scratcher to me, because I was thinking you're not going anywhere as a franchise, spending a whole season playing Kyle Orton and putting EJ Manuel on the bench, and same thing with the Jets. If you really think you are going to be a competitive playoff Super Bowl contending team with Ryan Fitzpatrick, go for it. But that means you've completely given up on Geno Smith. If you're trying to go build your franchise towards being a legitimate playoff contender, you might as well leave Geno Smith in there and be certain by the end of the season whether or not you have to go get a different quarterback or whether he really has progressed at all. Geno Smith by far and away has a lot more talent than Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he's going to make a lot more mistakes right now. That's just where he's at, in his career.
I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, Devin Smith is just going to be another Wallace clone, and that's not in a good way. Maybe you guys see something in him I don't, but I would have picked if we're really going just off talent, I would have definitely wanted to pick DGB first. I would have probably picked somebody like him, but I'm surprised that people this year. It's not just DGB. Everybody is terrified of this off the field stuff. And a lot of really good players are falling because of it. It's really a shame.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Roger Goodell effect. He's really been the iron fist guy. And, you think of what's dominated and actually destroyed seasons. Miami really had their 2013 season destroyed just from, the Jonathan Martin, Richie Incognito thing. And that wasn't even, like, illegal stuff off the field. And then you have what happened to the Ravens last year. And
here we go with the Redskins pick.
Okay, here we go.
I wonder who is going to be this time. He looks old too.
Brig Owens is announcing the pick.
Rig Owen? I've never heard of. Oh, Brig Owens.
Preston Smith, a defensive end linebacker from Mississippi State this week.
Preston Smith? Are you
Great.
serious?
Well, this could not be going better for the Dolphins.
This could not be going better for the Dolphins, like really.
All right, let's check out what this is. Preston Smith, he was the 19th.
Yeah, he was the
19th defensive end in our FinManiacs draft guide. Wow. Shasky Clark did the scouting report. Behind the elite defensive end prospects in this class, Preston Smith holds a lot of intrigue for many, but his average overall athletic tools don't hold much future promise. Smith has good size and played snaps all along the line during his career. He is fairly stout up front and plays with good pad level, but Smith lacks the physical tools to be a consistently impactful edge rusher. He has only average speed and will not win with his athleticism versus pro tackles. He doesn't overpower opponents either, and his overall pass rushing resume was not super impressive. Smith's size, length, and athletic ability may make him better suited for a more interior role, such as at a 3-4 defensive end. Would need a bit more bulk, but that would probably be his best bet to being an effective long-term starter in the NFL. Otherwise, a very average prospect who could stick as a backup. Harsh words. Ideal draft round. Listen to this, guys. 6th, according to Shasky Clark.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what he's saying, though. I mean, I'm looking up his intangibles here. He ran a 4.74, which is not, stellar for a DN type guy. He's 270 pounds. That's all he could really do. Is what he's looking at on paper would be a 3-4 DN. He had 24 reps on the bench press, which isn't amazing. So he screams as a guy that would just be a rotational 3-4 DN or maybe a tackle in a passing situation. But I know we're in the second round, but that definitely would seem like a reach to me as well. I find it hard to believe he's going to come in and be a dominant DN with what his physical attributes are anyway. He definitely has a lower ceiling.
Okay, the Bears are already ready to go. Wow, they didn't waste any time at all.
I have a feeling this is Kendrick's guys. They need their stud linebackers. That's a tradition in the.
Another really old guy. Who is this? Is this Dick Butkus?
This is Dick Butkus.
Wow.
Oh, great! And they even got one of their classic middle linebackers announcing the pick.
A legend.
Let's see who they're going to pick.
Go ahead. Say it. Oh my God, Goodell. Hit Butkus. Thank you.
Just waiting on the pick here.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Goldman from Florida State.
Wow.
Defensive tackle.
I like that. But again, the board is falling perfectly for the Dolphins here. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a run, but I don't know. This is getting exciting.
It's looking like they're going to definitely have the shot at a solid offensive lineman for sure. I'm surprised.
Scouting report on Goldman from Jeff Hyde, position ranking 5, 5th defensive tackle in the draft guide, ideal draft round 2nd. Eddie Goldman is your prototypical defensive tackle in the NFL. Great size, great build, and the strength to do everything asked of a tackle at the next level. Carries his big body well, meaning he is very agile and quick despite his large frame. Where Goldman wins is his ability to move the pocket. His strength allows him to use his bull rush as a great tool to get the lineman back on his heels when attempting to block him. This does so many things for a defensive team's pass rush. Moving the pocket allows the other defenders to gain holes and leverage that weren't there in the original pocket and creates more lanes for them to get to the ball carrier or the quarterback. Goldman doesn't necessarily get to the quarterback or ball carrier often, but his presence on the line will help create plays for other players. At the next level, Goldman will need to increase his play recognition, often gets caught up in a battle with the lineman and can miss a ball carrier run right by him. He will need to develop better pass rushing skills as well and find a way to use his hands better to fight off blocks. Goldman reminds Jeff Hyde a lot of Lewis Nix in this draft. He's a guy who has value as a rotational piece to a defense, but will take a few years to develop in the NFL.
It's a solid pick. That's the first one I've agreed with where they took him. This is one of your prototypical big defensive tackles that can eat up blockers, but he's going to be a little limited. And think of a Paul Soliai maybe type player where he's going to be a great guy to plug up the middle. 2 down defensive tackle. He'll come out on obvious passing downs. Something the Bears needed. Good pick. I mean, it's hard to get those guys. I mean, everybody would love to have a guy like Ndamukong Suh or Sheldon Richardson where they can, eat up the box and rush the passer, but that's hard to get. And in the NFL, everybody needs these deep tackles that can just shut the middle of the field down to stop the running game. So something the Bears needed. I like the pick.
Tennessee is on the board, and they are in need of a tackle, but also the Carolina Panthers have moved up to St. Louis's spot. They've traded up, and they are in serious need of a lineman too. So you might see a couple.
Where are you seeing this stuff?
You might see a couple linemen come here.
Yeah, the Carolina needs some receiving help too. So Dorial Green-Beckham could be in play as well. I don't think the Titans are looking receiver, so that might be why the Panthers jumped up. But
Panthers need an offensive lineman.
And the Panthers don't get a lineman here. They're really dumb. I mean, again, Jonathan Martin and Michael O'Hare. This is a problem.
Jonathan Martin's a dominant offensive tackle.
You made that joke last night.
It never gets old, though. It would stun me if
I think the Panthers are moving up to take Jake Fisher or TJ Clemmings. The Titans are on the clock right now, correct?
The Titans pick is in.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't waste any time.
I can see the Titans go either Beckham or offensive line.
I think they're going to get some help for Mariota here. Get a receiver. Jalen Strong's on the board. Green Beckham's on the board. Would have to think it's one of them.
I'm calling a DGB.
Are you?
The best wide receiver available at this point is DGB, and I mean, look, they need to give Mariota / Mettenberger something.
Yeah, there's still some starting caliber offensive tackles available. I don't know how the Panthers can address their offensive line right now. I mean, it's almost like a must to me.
They have to. And there's still two. I think that's why they traded up. The Panthers have to be taking an offensive lineman.
I'm saying TJ Clements would be.
You're talking the Panthers. I was talking Titans.
Yeah.
The Titans pick is in, and then yes, the Rams traded their pick, which is pick number 41, to the Panthers, who have moved up, and they will draft immediately after the Titans pick. So
All right. So, like I mentioned, uh, we got a lot of movement going on here in the second round already. We had the trade to start at the top of the draft. We got the Rams moving down, Panthers moving up. Tweet just came in from Mike Garafolo of Fox Sports. The Eagles are trying to move up in this round. The Dolphins might have a lot of good opportunities to move down a bit.
Well, they
At
really
that.
have to think about it. I mean, moving down,
Yeah.
if Kendricks is there, that's going to be hard to pass up. But if they want to back up a little bit, I mean, there's a lot of true guards that they can still plug in and start that they could probably pick, 10 spaces back. So if they can pick up, and they need a third round pick, there's no doubt. So it's going to be interesting. Hey, I had a question over here. Has anybody heard any updates on Lyle Collins? Is he still just completely off the charts, or?
I saw that he passed the polygraph test today.
For Miami, and I know I did read earlier this morning that he had his attorney contact all the security advisors of all the teams to explain exactly the situation. And if that you have any inside information that has nothing to do with that, he's just involved in it by chance, what a pick that would be at this point in the draft to get him.
Ian Rappaport had said earlier today that Collins has said if he didn't get drafted in the second or third round, that he would wait and he wouldn't sign and get redrafted next year. But then I saw another one that said that if he's not drafted, he becomes a free agent because he has no eligibility left, so he will not be eligible for next year's draft.
So who's the Titans guy?
Jake Fisher out there right now. I mean, that's a solid tackle.
There it is. There's Hyde's pick. DGB just went.
There you go. I knew he was floating around there, but who was going to roll the dice on him?
Dorial Beckham is off the board, and again, the board
Hyde loved him.
Fall.
DGB.
He literally has Calvin Johnson type ability. He's that big, he's that fast, but he's obviously had a lot of off the field trouble. So it's a high risk, high reward pick, no doubt about it.
So Jeff Darlington and others are saying that the Titans were going to take DGB at 33, but traded down and still got him. So that's pretty impressive. The Carolina Panthers trade here. The Rams got the 57th pick in the second round, 57 overall. The Panthers' third round pick and a 6th round pick. So that's crazy. So that's something the Dolphins can think about. If they trade down in round 2, they're probably getting a 3rd round pick. And we'll see if they want that. Let's look at the scouting report real quick on DJB from Jeff Hyde.
Oh, boy. Are you ready for that?
Ideal draft round is late 1st, early 2nd. Dorial Green Beckham's combination of size and speed is unlike anything we've seen since Calvin Johnson came out of Georgia Tech. A state champion in the 100-yard dash in high school, DGB has incredibly long strides and the ability to high point the catch, making him tough to stop in man coverage. DGB will be used as a deep threat at the next level, but also in the wide receiver screen game. A problem area for DJB, however, is catching passes over the middle of the field. He tends to develop alligator arms when he sees impending contact. He also has an issue of dropping easy passes, which could be frustrating for scouts and coaches. He has top-end speed and has the ability to take over any game with his skill set, but his off-the-field issues will keep him from being a lock as a top 10 pick. Overall, Hyde thinks DGB has the skill set to be one of the best 3 wide receivers in this year's class. If he can keep his head on straight, he'll be a steal of a draft pick for a team in the late 1st or early 2nd round. Take it away, boys.
Yeah, it's a good pick in the 2nd round. I mean, he's loaded with talent. Not a guy I would expect to come in and be NFL ready, but if he can keep his head on straight and work with it, he has the potential to be a dominant wide receiver. And when you're getting into the 2nd round, getting a player with that kind of attribute, it's good. From the Dolphins standpoint, great. I would wanted him to come off the board before they pick because it just pushes more players down. And I mean, there are some talented linemen still in this draft that it's going to be interesting. I'm surprised Jake Fisher's still available. I mean, that's another solid tackle, and offensive tackles are premium in this draft. So that could be somebody Miami even considers if he could play inside. It could also swing over and cover one of the tackle positions if needed. It's interesting. Obviously, Eric Kendricks is still falling, so we're starting to get into that range where Miami's going to almost be guaranteed to have a player that could fill a need position that's starting day ready.
On DGB, I think his biggest attribute for Mariota is going to be down in the red zone. The Justin Hunter is hurt all the time. Who's their little wide receiver they have? They just picked up the 5th-year option on the little wide receiver down in Tennessee.
Is that Kendall Wright, maybe? Is that who you're talking about?
Kendall Wright, yep. He's more of just a possession guy, but at 6'5", I mean, he gives them a real threat like Kelvin Benjamin gave Cam Newton down in the red zone this season.
Well, not everybody.
Got some breaking news. Texans are in the process of trading up. Eagles are talking to the Vikings about a potential deal, trading up from number 52 to 45.
This does not surprise me.
This is crazy. We'll have to see where this goes here. Who are they targeting?
Well, the Eagles aren't a major threat for us, I don't think. I don't think they're going to be looking at linebacker.
Trading up for these quarterbacks? I don't know. Is Houston trading?
The quarterback that's interesting. It's there's going to be some moving around, so yeah, we'll have to see. If the quarterback's still on the board when Miami gets there, they're going to have some offers. I have to imagine there. Let's see
absolutely.
Where 1, 2, 3, 4. We're 4 picks away right now. We've got the Browns in front of us, who they could use some skill position help. They went really safe on their first round picks, and so I would expect them to maybe look at some skill positions. We've got the Saints, also could use a wide receiver there. They could also use a lot of defensive players. Vikings could use wide receivers. San Francisco could use wide receivers. So
San Francisco needs more defense.
Is teams are trading up when they're not even on the clock. The Browns have traded their number 43 pick to the Texans, according to Ian Rappaport.
Okay.
So the Dolphins are not the ones going wild here. This is all smokescreen, it seems like.
Well, I don't think Miami at this point, I mean, they'd be crazy. Unless they have a huge conviction on Eric Kendricks and want to give up picks to go get him, I'd just stay pit right here and pick up my offensive lineman.
But if Matt's report that they like Perryman better is true, then we wouldn't be getting Kendricks anyway.
Well, if they do like Perryman, like if it were me, I don't think Perryman's going to go right away here. I would be seriously considering dropping back, a little ways if you got a good offer in there to pick up another draft pick.
Okay, so who's going to be the guy announcing for the Panthers? I don't even know any names for these guys.
Well, they haven't been around that long, so it can't be a real old guy.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mike Mayock. Carolina needs a tackle. Woo! Yeah, that's a stretch.
That's fairly
Never
obvious.
would've guessed.
I'm going to go with Jake Fisher. That's going to be my guess, but it's hard to say. I'll be stunned if they don't take now that Beckham's off the board in particular, they don't take a lineman here.
It would be very, very dumb to not pick a tackle at this point. So watch the Panthers not pick a tackle.
Probably not, right? They'll probably take someone else.
If the Panthers moved up, they're either moving up to take offensive line, or they're going to jump in on Jalen Strong here before the rest of these teams jump on a wide receiver.
There's a ton of receiver-needy teams. Like I said, the Saints, Vikings, and 49ers all can use receiver help, so that might be what they're doing. But, wow, they're really starting the season with Jonathan Martin at tackle. It's going to be a long year for Cam Newton. TJ Clemens and Jake Fisher, both solid offensive tackles that are available in this draft yet.
Who's this guy? Pat Terrell. Never heard of him either.
Wow, that's who the Panthers took?
That's who's announcing it.
Oh, I was like, I didn't even know.
Wide receiver off the board. Devin Funchess goes to Carolina.
Are you serious? Devin Funchess?
Wide receiver
I am stunned. That's a hybrid player right there.
Unbelievable.
they moved up for that too. I am stunned. I mean, not that Funchess has some unique skill sets, but they're desperate for tackles. They're two
They're obviously not very
tackles.
Chad, they're obviously not very desperate.
Wow. I would think you could have had him in the back end of the second round. That's just my guess.
Like, Devin Funchess, really? Really? So you guys really are okay with Cam Newton running for his life?
Wow. Let me pull up the scouting report on Funchess.
That's not going to be a pretty report.
He's the 11th rated receiver in the FinManiacs draft guide. Scouting report done by Jeff Hyde, ideal draft round, the second NFL player comparison, Kelvin Benjamin. It's kind of ironic since Benjamin's on the Panthers. The one word that comes to mind for most people when talking about Funchess is big. The word that Hyde would add is athletic. Funchess possesses a unique combination of size and athleticism that will bode well for him at the next level. He uses his hands to catch the ball better than anybody in this year's wide receiver class. Hyde thinks the criticisms that most scouts will have on him is that he drops a lot of passes, but when watching the tape, he believes the vast majority of his drops can be attributed to the level of play of the quarterback. The only thing keeping Funchess from being picked in this year's first round is his laziness or lack of effort in run blocking and as a receiver when he's not the primary one. He won't be a major factor adjusting to a broken play other than to be a jump ball option in one-on-one man coverage. He's a top 50 player in this year's draft and could be the steal of the wide receiver group. Your thoughts?
I don't see him as a steal, and I also don't agree he's got the best hands. I would definitely take Devontae Parker's hand skill set over him. I mean, look, this guy's 230 pounds. He ran a 4.7 40. That's a hybrid tight end receiver type player, and so he's not an every down wide receiver that you're going to put out there on the field a lot. So I don't know. My thought is he would be easy to cover man to man with a safety in a lot of situations. Yeah, he'll be helpful in the red zone, but I mean this to me is not a starting caliber wide receiver that you're going to have on the field all the time. I just think he's too slow.
The comparison made by NFL Network for Funchess is Jimmy Graham. I kind of want to slap someone upside the head right now.
No. I mean, Graham. Well, let me tell you right here. I'm looking at his combine results. He did 17 reps on the bench press. That's not impressive at all. If you're gonna put him on the line and try to ask him to block linebackers and DNs, it's not going to happen consistently. So, I mean, he can play some receiving tight end, but this is not a true tight end whatsoever. So, like I said, he's a hybrid player. You can do some interesting plays with him in the red zone and stuff, but is he your guy you're going to line up consistently on the outside and expect him to be able to beat the speed of the players in the NFL? You could probably cover him with a linebacker that's got good coverage skills a lot of the time. So, he's an intriguing player, but he's not somebody you plug in as your starting wide receiver. In Carolina's case, I just don't think they had the luxury to bring in a player like this. They desperately need starting caliber every down wide receivers, and I mean, especially with Benjamin, I don't even know that they needed a guy like Funchess that much. So it's just very surprising pick they moved up to get him.
It's surprising, but at the same time, it's like, why am I surprised? It's like sometimes you just kind of expect a stupid move to be made every once in a while, and I guess the Panthers can qualify for stupid, considering once again, and I can continue to say it all day long, Jonathan Martin and Michael O'Hare are currently their starting tackles. Do I need anything else to say?
No, it's they're in the NFC South, so it's one of those divisions where you can get by with maybe a lesser line play, but the teams are getting better on defense in the draft right now in that division. So it's okay. I think what you're seeing is there was that run, and I think some people were hoping that the wide receiver might slide into the second, but with Dorsett going and Perryman going in the first round, Dorrell Green-Beckham coming off the board right away there. I almost wonder if the Panthers were targeting Beckham and just got their heart taken away from them when the Titans.
McClure. Oh.
Jalen Collins, cornerback, LSU just went.
Yeah, I mean, he's had some off the field trouble, but he's a talented corner. Falcons needed that. That's not a surprise pick at all.
All right.
Tigers.
with the Falcons, right? The Falcons picked Jalen Collins.
Uh-huh.
Pull up the scouting report on Jalen Collins. 11th rated cornerback in the FinManiacs draft guide done by Jeff Hyde. Ideal draft count as a third. NFL player comparison Xavier Rhodes. Jalen Collins is one of the most physically gifted cornerbacks in this year's class. He has great size, build, and length for the position, has the speed to keep up with the top-end wide receivers in the NFL. Collins is a guy that will rarely get beat deep. First, he has such long arms that it will be difficult to drop a pass anywhere near him. Also, Collins does a great job of turning his hips open, running with the receiver down the field, and closing him out using his big body to cause the receiver to adjust his route. He has a lot of qualities that NFL teams will love at the position. The question marks for Collins come with his technique and overall experience at the position. He only started 10 games while at LSU at cornerback. He hasn't had time to develop or refine his skills just yet and could be seen as a project type of player for teams in this year's draft, which could ultimately lower his draft stock a bit. Overall, Hyde thinks Collins has the potential to be a top 3 corner from this draft, but it may take time for him to prove it. He thinks that Collins will come off the board as early as the 2nd round and no later than the 3rd round. And as we saw, just got drafted by the Falcons in the 2nd round.
So basically, he's the Ryan Tannehill of cornerbacks, a project guy.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But the Falcons do a
he's
great
got
job.
a unique blend of size and speed, so you got to like that he's 6'1" and he's fast, but it's extremely concerning to me if you're looking at that only started 10 games in college. So you don't want to have your quarterbacks learning on the fly in the NFL very badly. Cause
You don't want your quarterbacks learning on the fly either. It works out okay for us.
Yeah, but I mean, you almost have to in today's NFL. I mean, like I said, the teams that are competing for the Super Bowl every year are the teams with the best quarterbacks, and so sometimes you have no choice but to develop them. But corners are a little bit different story, and so this guy comes off to me as like they're really going to need to coach him up a lot, and you're going to have some rough moments with him as a Falcon fan early on in his career as he's learning the position, because he hasn't had that much exposure, and when you're playing against good quarterbacks, they're probably going to light him up a little bit. But if he settles in, I mean, everybody wants those 6'1" corners that you can put out there against those bigger receivers. So he has the skill set to get there. He's just going to take a little bit of developmental time.
Eric Brown is announcing for the Texans. Who is it? I'm having a bad feeling about this.
Oh, it looks like it's Bernard
McKinney, another Mississippi State guy.
Yeah, that's he's a very intriguing prospect. He's an enormous-sized linebacker. Kind of reminds me of a James Harrison type player. Really big linebacker, inside linebacker. He'll be an interesting career to watch. So I'm curious to see at his size if he'll be quick enough to play linebacker in the NFL. But he's got a very unique size, speed combination for linebacker.
Yeah, since Matt has walked away for a minute, I'm going to read the scouting report here for Bernardrick McKinney. It's also written by Jeff Hyde. Let me just read it right here. Bernardrick McKinney has a tremendous combination of size and speed. He looks like a bull running through the streets of Pamplona in pursuit of the ball carrier. Okay, well, that's colorful. On tape, he appears to be very comfortable as a true inside linebacker, a trait that is lacking within this year's class of linebackers. He has an intimidating presence in the middle of the field and will force players to rethink entering the middle of the field. As far as production, McKinney's numbers weren't as high as some teams might like, but he shows good pursuit on every play and is always around the ball. He has a high football IQ and does a good job quarterbacking the defense and diagnosing plays. Overall, McKinney doesn't do anything flashy, but his unmatched combination of size and speed will be enticing for any team in need of an inside linebacker in the first round of the draft. Well, obviously he didn't go in the first round, at least not as we expected, but I believe it was injury concerns that made McKinney was going to drop in the first place, correct?
Well, he's just a unique specimen. I mean, the guy's 6'4", and he's 250 pounds, so you got to wonder, will he be able to get low and really pop people, and will he be agile enough to, be able to defend the pass? He's more than likely going to be a two-down middle linebacker that's focused on trying to stop the run, but it's a guy that he's got that unique size and speed combination, and he's got decent instincts to play inside linebacker, but it surprises me a little bit. I would have definitely had him lower than Eric Kendricks by a long shot, and definitely lower than Denzel Perryman as well. I like guys that are a little bit built thicker and lower to the ground that can really get low on running backs, because when you get a guy that's in there 6'4" and 250, and you start playing these teams that run these speed backs that are extremely quick, I wonder if Derek McKinney is going to be able to track those guys and get good pad level on them when they come through there. So it's a unique player. So I wouldn't call it a terrible pick, but surprising that he went off the board first.
I don't know, man. Is Eric Kendricks' injury really so bad that people are so low on him, or is it just because he's small? I don't understand what the problem is.
You got to be wondering, because his skill sets, it's hard to get 3-down linebackers like him, and what is unique about Eric Kendricks is he can play the pass pretty well and the run pretty well, and so you love having guys in there like that, because when you're playing guys like Tom Brady, you worry that he's going to pick on your middle linebacker with his running backs and tight ends and receivers over the middle, and Kendricks would be able, in theory anyway, to handle that. But it's amazing to me he's falling, and you're seeing these linebackers that were clearly rated lower going off the board first. So maybe people know something we don't know.
What about you, Ryan?
Well, away from that for a minute, from a Dolphins perspective, the Eagles have been trying to move up. The Saints pick is in. I think they said the Vikings pick is in as well, which leaves only San Francisco sitting there in front of Miami. So if Miami is looking to move back, and the Eagles are trying to move up, is this where you guys see your Evan Mathis trade come in?
I would love that.
No, there's an Evan Mathis trade?
I would absolutely love that if they traded Mathis over. And you imagine if Miami dropped back, got Mathis, and were able to pick up Denzel Perryman a little bit later down. My God, that would be ideal. But I don't know. I mean, all offseason they've been linked in trade talks. And so obviously they're used to talking to each other on the phone, I would think. So we'll see.
And actually, especially now, it looks like.
So right now,
this is coming from Twitter. This is coming from Twitter. The Saints pick is in, the Vikings pick is in, and Twitter is all abuzz that the Vikings pick is your Eric Kendricks, Chad.
Okay, yeah, I just figured he had to come off the board sooner or later. I'm not heartbroken. I know a lot of Dolphins fans are, because they wanted him as the layer, but I want Denzel Perryman anyway, so I'm not heartbroken, but we'll see here. If with Kendricks off the board, it definitely, and all the guard prospects that are still on the board, it definitely makes a trade back appealing.
So has the Saints pick officially been announced yet?
I don't think it's been announced, but I think it's in already.
Okay. And the Vikings pick is in, correct?
According to Ryan.
Okay, so we're not going to spoil it here.
No spoiling, exactly.
So we'll wait until that becomes official. So a few more picks for the Dolphins. We got 3 picks left until the Dolphins are on the clock. Actually, you know what? In the drafting right now, the Dolphins are probably taking plenty of phone calls because the 49ers are technically on the clock right now since those 2 picks are in.
Who? What? Hello? Hello? How? What? Kikaha. I've never even heard of this guy.
Can you repeat that?
Haoli Kikaha.
Are you trying to talk Japanese or something right now, Louis?
No, a Hawaiian, I guess. I don't know.
Kikaha.
Kikaida.
No, it's
the draft pick. Yeah, he's a Hawaiian linebacker from Washington.
Haoli Kikaha.
Another surprising pick to me. I mean,
who is Kikaha?
Louis, do you want to pull up the scouting report on that?
He would be a strong side linebacker.
So you can hear me trying to say his name again?
He is an outside linebacker. Seventh rated outside linebacker in the FinManiacs draft guide.
Okay. Completed scouting report by Gabriel Burns. Haoli Kikaha had elite production at Washington, leading the nation with 19 sacks in his final season. But will his final production translate to the NFL? Gabriel asked that question. Kikaha looks fantastic coming off the edge. He shows great burst and a nice arsenal of moves when rushing the quarterback. Has good technique, especially in how he uses his hands to get by tackles, and his instincts are a plus and help him adjust on the fly. And his film shows surprising strength. Kikaha got a handful of sacks that will not be so easy in the big leagues. There are times Kikaha got stuck on his blocker, and his block shedding needs to be improved. There's room for improvement in his coverage ability as well, and he also has to be better at tackling in the open field. He has a past of injury problems, and a team drafting him would have to clear his health. He has previous ACL damage, and there will be questions about him. He's a very good pass rushing prospect. He fits best in a 3-4 defense, according to Burns, where he could be used almost exclusively as a pass rusher. All things considered, he's a second-round talent and will probably be off the board by round 3 when, well, now he's already off the board. I don't even know who. I still don't know who this guy is, and I'm not having fun saying his name. So you guys go on ahead.
That's a scheme fit for the Saints, right? I would imagine that's who took him. He's a guy that is going to be limited to only being a pass rushing outside linebacker or a strong side linebacker. He wouldn't be fast enough to play in the middle or on the weak side in coverage. So it'll be one of those guys that are probably rare to be put into coverage and will be going after the quarterback for the most part.
Okay, who's the Vikings guy announcing? There's so many of these players, these former players I've never even seen before.
So basically, the Dolphins are on the clock officially right now, waiting for all the picks to come in. The Eagles are wanting to move up. It would only drop the Dolphins 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. So if I'm the Dolphins and the Eagles are calling me, I am definitely trading down, at least in my opinion.
There's Kendricks. That's it.
All right, Kendricks is off the board. I know that was many Dolphins fans wanted Eric Kendricks. So, that's a little disappointing.
Okay, well, it's disappointing for us, but I think Chad is happy because now he can get his hands on Denzel Perryman.
Yeah. All right. Scouting report for Kendricks. It's going to be a tough one to read because I loved him. Number 1 inside linebacker in the FinManiacs draft guide. Done by Jeff Hyde. Ideal draft round the first. NFL player comparison, Kiko Alonso. Eric Kendricks is a tackling machine. In his 4 years at UCLA, Kendricks tallied a record 481 tackles. But he's also a terrific coverage linebacker as well. This is the same reason that he'll be successful as an NFL inside linebacker and one of the first inside backers taken in this year's draft. Teams want a guy that can match up with tight ends, slot receivers, and running backs coming out of the backfield. Kendricks does not have blazing speed, but he makes up for it with great awareness, a good first step, and agility. If he falls behind on a play, he can quickly gather himself and recover. The only thing that will keep him from being the first inside linebacker taken is his size. He is undersized and has short arms. His size hasn't stopped him yet, and I don't see it slowing him down in the NFL. Hyde expected Kendricks to go in the late first or early second round to a very grateful team. And now...
Hey, Matty.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Yep, I just see it coming in. This is awesome news. The Dolphins have traded their pick to the Eagles.
Hey!
Did we get Evan Mathis? Please!
I don't know. So you guys take this away. I'm going to get this story up on the website. You guys start discussing.
All right. Well, we obviously don't know the details of the trade, but Miami needed to add some picks. I talked about this yesterday on the podcast that now that we've got Ndamukong Suh and that huge contract and we've got the big contract coming for Ryan Tannehill, we need to have extra picks available so that we can have affordable players because you always have to fill holes every year from injuries and whatnot. So I was hoping Miami would be able to pick up an extra pick here in this draft, hopefully in the 3rd or 4th round. And I really think that you can have Denzel Perryman or a starting caliber guard later on yet in the 2nd round. So I love the trade at this point.
Yeah, but getting more picks, always a good thing. Of course, now the question is, who are we going to get? I want to see what we're getting in return before I make any sort of judgment. We're giving up 5 slots.
But for what Miami's targeting, that's fine. So even if we
you're assuming it's Perryman.
Oh, well, no, I'm just saying Miami should be able to target the player they want still in the 2nd round. If they get even an extra 4th round pick, that's well worth it to me because we're probably going to take the same guy at that slot than we are where we're at, would be my guess.
Okay, I guess that's fair. I want to see if we got our third rounder because, or at least something that we can use to get back into the third round.
I'd be shocked if we got a third rounder for just
Or
5
Michael
spots.
Kendricks, that'd be nice. Then we don't have to go linebacker. We can go guard.
Well, yeah, I mean the Eagles uniquely have players we need. Mathis or Kendricks are need players. So if we somehow got our starting guard or starting inside linebacker and also still have that second round pick, that's ideal. But I don't know that the Eagles want to get rid of Mathis anyway. That's from everything I'm reading that they didn't even know if they were going to cut him. So if we picked him up and can insert him at guard.
Ew, I don't like those.
Like what?
The 49ers' new uniforms, all black.
Oh.
No, I don't like that.
Is there somebody from the Oregon Ducks here? Is there somebody from the Oregon Ducks that Chip has been trying to move up to get here?
Well, the tackle is still available, Jake Fisher, right?
But he didn't go to Oregon.
I thought he did.
Okay, so Twitter is going. I'm not gonna. This isn't a spoiler so much. This is just Twitter here. This is just what we got in return. We traded number 47 and number 191 overall for Philadelphia's 152, 145, and 156.
I have to calculate what those equate to. So we picked up an extra pick, right? Essentially.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, what?
Jake Fisher is an offensive tackle from Oregon.
So we got rid of. So we gave them our 6th rounder, and we got 2 5th rounders.
We got 2 5ths, and we moved up well, we got an extra pick though from what you told me, didn't we?
So no Mathis, no Kendricks, no Boykin, no nothing.
Oh, I think we picked up at least an extra pick, right?
Yeah, we got an extra. We got an extra pick, but it's like, so what?
Yeah, but you're only dropping 5 slots. You just got to keep in mind. If we were trading out of the second round or something, I'd be upset. But to fall back 5 slots and get an extra 5th,
I wanted a player. I'm getting greedy.
Yeah, you are. You're talking very good football players. You know that you're talking about.
Yeah, very good football players that Chip Kelly apparently has no problem getting rid of.
I think he's shopping them, but I don't think he's trying to give them away. But we'll see. My pick here for him is I'm going to stick with Jake Fisher. That's a starting caliber tackle for the Eagles, and he's from Oregon. It makes a lot of sense.
Okay. 49ers guy is?
Charles Haley.
The great Charles Haley pass rusher.
I'm way too young for these players.
Who?
I have no idea who these people are.
Jaquiski Tart. That's who just got drafted. Jaquiski Tart.
Who? Who is that?
He's a safety from Samford. See it?
It's like not even Stanford, it's Samford. Jaquiski Tart. What a name. Oh, God. Okay.
I honestly, guys, I've said this yesterday when I was having a conversation with Jeff Hyde. I was saying, if you're looking into the upcoming season, I was saying watch out for Jacksonville and St. Louis because their defenses are really being built up. But I think you're going to see a free fall out of San Francisco. I haven't liked their draft picks. They've lost a lot in the offseason. I haven't been impressed with their coach. I think San Francisco is on a major downside right now.
Wow. Yeah, so somebody's tweeting. We now have pick 145, 149, 150, and 156. So we have 4 picks in the 5th round.
Yeah, see, that's great ammunition, too, to maybe move up in the 3rd round, possibly.
I would hope so.
And it gives you, you also, even if you're not getting starters, you want guys that have the ability to develop into starters. And, you got to look at what Dennis Hickey did last year. Players like Walt Aikens, I still am pretty high on him, and Will Davis, and players like that you get into those rounds. And so we don't need, really all we desperately need is a starting guard right now. And after that, we need players that can, possibly fill in future years. Like, next year we're going to have to try to be signing Olivier Vernon and Lamar Miller. And if we can't afford to sign those guys, you need some young guys that can possibly step in next year. So that's a great place to target those guys.
So let me read the Tart the Tart scouting report. Ranked as our 4th strong safety by Justin Capriotti. There are some players that make you question the high school recruiting system, and apparently Tart is one of them. From basic tools viewpoint, Tart clearly resembles a starting box safety in the NFL, has the build of a linebacker, and shows the ability to punish ball carriers, and I'm going to stop reading now because the Eagles are up. Okay, basically he's okay. And Congressman John Runyon.
Eric
And everybody-
Rowe, defensive back, Utah.
Wow, I'm
There goes Rowe.
really surprised they moved up to get him. You know, they probably know stuff we don't know, but
At least it wasn't Oregon.
yeah, I thought obviously Chip Kelly's taking who he thinks the best. Everybody assumes he's going Oregon guys, but not a bad pick for him. I was very surprised when the San Francisco pick. As I was saying, I feel like they have the Tony Sperano clone coaching them right now, because that's another big heavy hitter and safety that, my point being, is they're kind of shying away from those in the NFL. So it'll be interesting to see. But that's a run support type safety that will struggle covering receivers and probably some of the athletic tight ends would be my guess.
The draft guide has him under a cornerback, but he is a hybrid guy who can play safety as well. And scouting report by Jeff Hyde, he's the 5th rated cornerback on our guide. He's one of the most interesting prospects in this draft based on the question marks surrounding the position that he'll end up playing. Rowe has great size to be in the secondary, tall with a good build, but ultimately his skill set will determine both his draft stock and the position at the next level. Jeff says he's at best suited for the free safety position. He lacks the man coverage and skills and short yardage over skills to be an elite corner, but he shows good instincts, run support, and overall athletic ability and ball skills to be a good free safety. Teams could still spin the tires on Rowe at cornerback if they think he might be coachable, but I think the biggest thing that he has here is his versatility. He has an above-average skill set and the versatility to help a team fill some holes seamlessly. So basically he's Michael Thomas in a way. He can play wherever you put him. That's a good thing for the Eagles to have, considering their defense has some serious holes in it.
Yeah, I like the Rowe pick for the Eagles. It's versatility in the secondary is a necessity anymore in today's NFL, because teams with the athletic tight ends can shift so easily and from run formations into pass formations. So those guys that can do both are valuable. I mean, he's a little bit raw probably, but when you get into the second round, you want a guy that can develop into a solid player, and that's what they're getting there.
Okay, the Chargers pick is in.
All right.
Oh, hi, Matt.
Hi. So the Eagles actually got the 191st overall pick, which is the Dolphins' 6th round, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the Dolphins got 2 5th-rounders, and the Eagles have a total of 4 5th-rounders.
No, we have 4 5th-rounders.
I'm sorry, yes. Just get that up.
We're going to own the 5th round. Terrific.
Or use it as ammunition.
Yeah, we got to trade up, but for who is the question?
I don't know.
Is TJ Clemens injured?
I'm surprised that the tackles, as a premium as they are, that they're falling, because both Jake Fisher and TJ Clemens are starting caliber players, and the tackles are premium in the NFL. If I were the Dolphins needed one, I'd be really looking at those guys, but Miami just isn't in a position where they have to get a tackle. They need a guard, an interior lineman much more. But I thought TJ Clemens was going to be more of an end of the first round pick, so interesting.
Well, Randy Gregory should be a lesson to all those kids next year, to be able to look at somebody who was projected to be a top 20, top 15 pick, smoke weed right before the combine, and look what it does to you.
Yeah, it's cost them millions. Even Shane Ray, even though he got drafted in the first, he probably lost a good 10 slots at least. So it's directly costing you millions of dollars.
So some people are wondering why Randy Gregory Is not being
Why has
drafted.
Randy Gregory not been drafted? Because he can't stay off the weed.
Because Ian Rappaport just said that he slept through his meeting with the Saints.
That does not help.
Yeah, and he can't stay off the weed.
All right. So, who are we waiting for on the clock right now? We're waiting for the Chargers pick to come in, correct?
Yep. I'm not liking what I'm seeing on Twitter, but I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, I don't like it either. So, you think the Dolphins will trade down again?
Well, if the guy, I'm pretty sure that the guy they wanted, well, assuming they even really wanted him, it's like, I don't know who they want anymore.
I don't
We
either.
seem to be,
I'm sticking to my thought. I mean, Ali Marpert is a great guard. He's available. Denzel Perriman's a great inside linebacker. He's available. So
yeah.
I'm liking that they back down right now. Now, if they go again, I'd get a little. They got to get their guard locked down at some point here. They don't have a third-round pick right now, and so I would be hopeful that if they don't get their guard here in the second round, that they're going to use some of their fifth-round picks to get back up there and get one, because I don't think they can afford to go into the season without.
Never heard of Anthony Miller either. There goes Perryman.
Denzel
San
Perryman
Diego.
Oh, I'm crying.
off the board.
Denzel Perryman. Why?
Why not?
I thought, okay, I guess they don't like Manti Te'o.
Listen, I'm not upset by this pick.
Chad is.
I wasn't really.
Chad is crying.
I wasn't high on Perryman. He's a two-down linebacker who struggles very bad in coverage. He is not a complete inside linebacker. If you're going inside linebacker, you need a complete linebacker to play all three downs. That's Eric Kendricks. That's not Denzel Perryman. So I'm not. I know people are upset about this, but I'm not.
Okay, well, now we're stuck. Who's next? There's no one left. We're going market.
I really think they're going offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, from a need standpoint, I wanted Perryman as an inside linebacker, but Cole Messi isn't a horrible inside linebacker if they have to stick with that. But we don't have a starting guard right now, other than Billy Turner. So we needed a guard. So I have to think they're looking strongly at the guard position right now. There's several solid guards on the board.
I don't know. I guess we're going to go with Ali Marpet or something.
That would be my guess. He fits their scheme the best right now. So I'd be looking at that. The Kansas City, Buffalo, I mean, I'm really watching for that quarterback to come off the board right now for Buffalo. I don't know. We'll see.
Kansas City's pick is in. I have no idea where they're going to go.
Kansas City and Buffalo have both already picked, so there's no trades, I don't think. Actually, the Browns have also picked as well, so Miami is on the clock, technically.
I'm wondering if maybe we're going running back or something. Maybe Duke Johnson.
I think you see Fisher or Clemens here for Kansas City. Kansas City needs an offensive lineman.
And the board was falling so nicely, too. Oh, well.
If Miami really wanted Perryman, they could have had him. So I have to assume they've been targeting an offensive lineman the whole time in the second round. So that's my prediction here. They have to get right now, again, Dallas Thomas is our starting guard opposite of Billy Turner. So we've got to get somebody we can put in there and play. And if we're not going to pull off a trade for somebody like Mathis, we've got to get a starting caliber lineman locked down in this draft.
Maybe I'm wondering. Paul Dawson is still out there. I don't see it happening, but he's still there.
I'm not a big Paul Dawson fan. I just his slow 40 time really turned me off. I know he's got a lot of great instincts. I wouldn't have a problem with him getting him in another round, but I wouldn't take him ahead of a lineman right now. I don't think that's where I would be at. Lewis, you sound like you want to pair him in too.
No, I'm worn out. That's all. I'm tired from talking so much. Also, I'm getting hungry.
Need to order some pizza.
Yeah, pizza. I need to get up and go to my freezer and pull out my frozen pizzas.
Going outside the box, if Miami doesn't go offensive line, it's possible they would look at corner. It's possible they would even look at a defensive lineman. I'd be surprised, but Derek Shelby's going to be a free agent next year. Olivier Vernon's going to be a free agent next year, and so even though, as you would say, he couldn't get off the weed, Gregory could be a guy they're looking at as a value pick here right now as a defensive end of the future. I am wondering again what the story is on La'el Collins. I don't think I'd take him in the second round, but once we pass through the second round, I'm starting to think about rolling the dice on maybe he hasn't done anything wrong, and it's worth the risk at that point because he's clearly one of the top-rated talent offensive linemen in the draft. So we would.
Oh my God. Dolphin Neil on Twitter. The Eagles also received Omar Kelly in that trade.
I hope that's true.
Yeah, you can have him.
I'm pretty sure Omar's trying to relocate to Indianapolis as a beat writer right now. So
no, he's praising the Chargers right now for bringing in two guys that bring the hammer, so to speak. Omar has always been a guy who likes physicality. He's hated the fact that we've been finessed for the past few years, and that part I won't really complain too much. I like.
Omar's
mind
always praising the guys from the U. You know that. That's why.
Yeah, I know. But okay, but the philosophy though, I wouldn't mind being a bruiser. That's not a problem with me. Sometimes finesse doesn't get the job done. That's why we want a power running back.
Oh, I don't disagree. Like I wanted Perryman for that same reason. I wanted a guy that was a serious run stuffer. But everything's true. I mean, he is a two-down linebacker that you would have to be concerned about matching up with Tom Brady, but I liked him as a traditional, strictly inside linebacker.
Gary Green, another guy I wasn't even developing eyelids yet. The 29th pick. Try again, Gary. Mitch Morse. Who is Mitch Morse?
Wow, I am shocked. Something must be wrong with TJ Clemens. He's fallen right now. I am really surprised he's still on the board.
He's on our guard. He's on our guide as a guard. So, NFL Network says he was a center. Then Then now he's a tackle, and our guide says he's a guard. So what? He can play everywhere. Okay, I don't hear Matt anywhere, so I'm gonna go ahead and read it. He's the 11th guard in our draft guide, and this was done by Gabriel Burns. Missouri's versatile offensive lineman Mitch Morse has experienced at every position on the line. At the Combine, Morse benched the second most reps at his position with 36. His success in Indianapolis helped put him on the map. So, workout warrior. Morse defeats his opponent with his brain. He shows fantastic football smarts. He has good technique that made up for his lacking athletic ability, and he explodes out of his stance. He has played every position on the line and is likely to make his home at guard in the NFL. While his performance at the Combine was impressive, that strength does not show up on film. Morse got pushed around more than you would like. That is a legitimate concern, and teams will have to figure out why his power didn't translate. Has short arms that will create problems if he's playing on the outside. Pass protection has a ways to go. And he would benefit by adding more weight and playing exclusively on the inside where his strengths will be best utilized and his weakness is hidden. He's not a great athlete, but moves well enough in space for a guard. He pretty much ranks as a backup.
So now the Buffalo Bills are here. So let's see what they do.
We got that. I'm going with quarterback. Buffalo has to get a quarterback in there, I think. So I think you're looking at it.
So you don't like Matt Castle and EJ Manuel?
Not long term. If they wanted EJ Manuel long term, they'd have let him play through last year. So I think you're looking at quarterback. I'm sticking with quarterback.
All right, so who are we waiting for?
We're waiting for the fans in Chicago. They're giving Jim Kelly a
They're giving Jim
several-minute
Kelly a
standing
standing
ovation.
ovation.
Nice. The Dolphins pick is in, but we won't spoil it here. I'm going to start writing the story, guys. You take it away from here.
Oh, great.
They're still cheering for Jim Kelly.
Well, they're going to cheer for the cancer survivor, which is fine. Okay, I guess Jim Kelly's just going to keep going.
Ronald Darby, defensive back from Florida State.
That's surprising. Surprises me. I'm trying not to spoil the Dolphins pick. I saw who that was too. It's surprising. So we'll have to let it fall through here. But surprising.
Okay, Jim Kelly, good for you. Now let's read Ronald Darby's scouting report. Let's see. Ranked as the 10th corner in our FinManiacs draft guide. Gabriel Burns did that one as well. Florida State cornerback Ronald Darby was a key piece of the Seminoles' 2013 national championship run, highly regarded for his speed. He's projected to be selected in the first 2 rounds. Okay, second round it is. He's a speedster, but besides his wheels, he shows good overall technique. He's a very smooth athlete that shows great closing speed on the ball, and his instincts are excellent and will translate to more big plays in the pros. He's not impressed in his recovery ability despite his speed. He seems to lose his man at times. Oh boy, that's bad. There were many moments he lost his footing early and the receiver blew by him. Philip Dorsett ran past him numerous times in their 2014 matchup. Well, there you go. So maybe Kenny Stills can blow by him, just saying. The biggest knock on Darby is his toughness. More physical receivers will give him problems in the NFL. Some are down in his run defense, but he's a willing tackler. He also will not give you any big plays in that department. He also holds too much, so he's going to need to lessen that in the NFL. Okay, so basically it looks like Ronald Darby is Trey Waynes again, very grabby, and he has great speed, but he doesn't have the other stuff that he needs. And now we have Cleveland Browns giving their shot.
I wonder who's going to be announcing for the Browns. That would be interesting.
Hanford Dixon is.
Okay.
Don't know him. Everybody here is before my time.
Jalen Strong, maybe? What are you guys thinking here for the Browns?
Nate Orchard, defensive end.
Wow.
I'm sorry, but I just cannot understand Cleveland's just.
Nate Orchard's a linebacker. Okay, I'm hearing defensive end and linebacker. Wait a minute, which is he?
Defensive end, according to NFL Network, but What's up with Cleveland's just
Outside linebacker, whatever.
refusing to draft a wide receiver? Does Cleveland have high
They-
hopes for Hartline and Bowe?
Brian Hartline. They love Hartline.
And I guess they expect Dwayne Bowe to take some
Be a
kind
star
of
again.
pressure.
Maybe they love them some Johnny Manziel, I guess. I don't know. They think he can do it. Okay, whatever. Okay, Nate Orchard, outside linebacker, 6th overall for us in the Fin Maniacs draft guide. The scouting report was done by Justin Capriotti. Nate Orchard is a pure pass rusher and a 3-4 front. Okay, there you go. From day one, he expects Orchard to be used primarily on third downs as a situational rusher where he can just pin his ears back and do that stuff. Once he develops some play strength and versatility, he could be used on early downs. He has the natural skills of a pass rusher, which were apparent in his 18-sack final season. He flashes an array of pass rushing moves, including a deadly inside move, has great hand usage, but doesn't have the strength to just throw blockers aside. His lack of ideal edge athleticism prevents him from bending the edge. He doesn't have too high potential, but his natural football skills are enough to lure in a late-round second round selection. And now Miami's pick, which we are already aware of, and you guys are gonna get our reaction soon. And here comes our friend Dwight Stevenson to announce the pick. Yep. Jordan Phillips. So, what? Paul Soliai 2.0? All right, I guess. Okay, so basically, at some point, Jordan Phillips was actually considered better than Danny Shelton. So, I guess technically we're getting what we wanted, in a sense that, we're getting our 1-2 punch with Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the thinking. I mean, this is a run-stopping, more of a nose tackle type lineman. I don't know how great of he will be at rushing the passer, but putting him alongside Ndamukong Suh will really be able to shut down the run on the interior there. He's a massive man. I'm a little surprised because I don't know what that means with Earl Mitchell. This guy is a lot more stout than Earl Mitchell. I was watching film on Earl Mitchell last year. He got pushed around a lot. He's more of a gap shooting defensive tackle. But, I mean, it's a guy with first-round talent in Jordan Phillips. He hasn't played a lot of games. He'll pair well with Ndamukong Suh. So I'm just hoping they have they can still get their guard, because this clearly was not a desperate need pick. It's more of probably the best player available on their board would be my guess.
All right, so let me just read this now. Written by Jeff Hyde. He's the 6th best defensive tackle on our draft guide. Jordan Phillips, simply put, is a natural athlete. There are rumors about Phillips being able to do a standing backflip in full pads while at Oklahoma. Okay, great, but that doesn't translate to football. But anyway, he isn't just athletic. He's also has impressive size, making the backflip story. Okay, the backflip. Okay, Jeff. Phillips has a huge body with long arms, making him a staple in the middle of any defense. He will constantly draw double teams to the next level. A bit raw with his technique, Phillips will need to find an NFL team that can coach him up and unlock some of his natural ability. Okay, well, we better hope the guy who's placing Casey Rogers is really good then. I forget his name, though. As he stands currently, Phillips is a great player in small spaces. His length allows him to control offensive linemen one-on-one and redirect them out of his way or collapse the pocket when necessary. He is great at the snap of the ball, but can lose leverage sometimes if he comes out a bit too high. At 6'6", Phillips will need to be able to keep his pad level down and his eyes up to truly use his size to his advantage. His presence in the middle of the field cannot be overlooked. Being as tall as he is, opposing quarterbacks will need to constantly redirect any passes designed for the middle of the field. Phillips will likely be called upon to drop in cover and will need to improve his awareness in order to knock down passes at the next level. His quickness is what makes him so dangerous, and on the line already, he has a great first step and can brush off blocks using his long arms once he beats them off the snap. If Phillips can be coached up to be stronger and more technically sound, he could develop into a force in the middle of an NFL defense. Phillips can likely to come off the board in the early or middle part of the second. So there you go. That's our man Jeff Hyde giving his ideas, and I don't know. Jordan Phillips, he could be this great. He could be this great superstar here. I don't understand. I understand if we're trying to get rid of. Well, okay. Here's some speculation. Just pure speculation. Could we perhaps be looking to move Earl Mitchell?
Maybe. I don't think so. I mean, he's on the. This is his last year. He's not an really expensive defensive tackle, and he gives you really good depth to be able to rotate him in there. Jordan Phillips is just a lot different type of player than Earl Mitchell. Miami's now the good news for the Dolphins in terms of the middle of their field. They're extremely stout now. Jordan Phillips and Ndamukong Suh are just parallel to what you're seeing out on the other teams in the division, like the Jets and the Bills. We're going to have a dominant interior defensive line with him in there, paired with Suh. It's just more of a surprising pick because I thought they were going to really address their guard, but I don't know. We're rolling the dice a little bit here, I think, because unless we can get traded up into the third round, we've got to sit all the way to the fourth round before we can get another player here. I know we're stacked with fifth-round picks, so it does make me wonder if there's still not a plan in place for them to get Mathis over yet from the Eagles.
The general consensus on Twitter is that we're not liking it, and there are some people saying run the 3-4 for gosh sakes. Well.
Here's my take on this. The Dolphins looked like they missed out on their linebacker. Perhaps it was Eric Kendricks. All right. Perhaps they didn't think that the Chargers would take Perryman. By drafting a defensive tackle in the middle of the field, in the middle of the line, I mean, this is going to be crazy, a defensive line. You got Suh and Phillips. If Phillips turns out to be the kind of player the Dolphins think they're going to be, man, no one is going to be able to get to the linebacker core. So you can have average linebackers with this defensive line. Cameron Wake, Olivia Vernon, Ndamukong Suh, and Jordan Phillips. You don't need elite linebackers with that kind of line. That's the way I'm looking at this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at it. This is a best player available pick. The Miami, long-term, they do need a defensive tackle because Earl Mitchell is a free agent after this year, and they really don't have anybody paired with Ndamukong Suh after Earl Mitchell. Earl Mitchell is not a stout defensive tackle, in my opinion. He's what I call the gap shooter, so he relies on quickness to get into the gaps between guard tackle or guard center, and this is a very stout D-tackle. D-tackles is a premium position. They're expensive to get in free agents. They're hard to get, and he is a starting caliber, high-end talent defensive tackle, so it does solidify the middle of the defense. So I don't have. It's not like this was a big reach or anything. It's just probably was the best player available, and that's you got to let the draft play out completely before you look at it. I think a lot of people were expecting them to make a move for Perryman or Hendricks here. That's why they're disappointed. But I think you're right, Matt. It's easier to get linebackers, and it doesn't matter how good the linebackers are if the defensive line's getting owned. So they have definitely addressed the interior of our line, which was a big weakness last year.
Jake Fisher just went to Cincinnati.
I'm surprised he fell that far, Ryan. I really thought he was going to go higher up in the round. He's a legitimate starting tackle, so this could be a really solid pick for Cincinnati.
Guys, the more I think about this pick, the more I love it. I mean,
I'm not down on it, Matt. I think a lot of Twitter people are because you got to differentiate best player available from
I
need.
think you're looking at the need factor. I mean, if you look at this, there's really no great cornerbacks in this year's draft besides perhaps Marcus Peters and maybe Kevin Johnson. Who's left on the board that can come in and start from day one at the cornerback position? Maybe Quinton Rollins? I don't know. If you look at the linebacker, Eric Kendricks was taken. Perhaps the Dolphins wanted him, but he was gone. If they wanted Perryman, then they blew it by trading down, but I sense that they didn't want Perryman. So what they're doing, they're still I don't know. I like this pick. They could have drafted an offensive guard. Perhaps they have the plan later in the draft. Perhaps they're going to go Lael Collins later in the draft. They are just making up for the fact that they couldn't get a linebacker by making this middle of the defense absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's exactly what the Jets did when they drafted Leonard Williams. But it's again, you got to look at it for the full situation. And going into next year at this time, defensive tackles are premium positions, and there's usually only a handful of them in the draft that have that kind of skill set. And next year we were going to be needing more than likely a defensive tackle. AJ Francis has not been able to stay healthy. Anthony Johnson is not a nose tackle type defensive tackle. He's lighter. And so this was a position we do need, believe it or not. It's just not as obvious, and it was going to be much more obvious going into next year. And, with Ndamukong Suh in there and you bring a player in there, teams almost have to double team Ndamukong Suh at all times. And when you bring in another menacing, powerful defensive tackle like that, it's going to really allow the Miami to control the center of the field, which is what you want to be able to do in any game.
Yeah, I mean,
the Lions have made their pick. They took more offense. They took Amir Abdullah from Nebraska.
That's a good pick. I like Amir Abdullah. I thought he was too similar to Lamar Miller, which is why I wasn't really high on the Dolphins drafting him. But that's a great pick for the Lions.
Yeah, definitely. That's who I thought was going to go early in the second for the next back. I like it. The Lions could use another back, and so he fits in there well. Miami, they need a power back. You're right. He doesn't really fit what Miami's looking for another running back. And I'm not even convinced Miami's worried about running back right now with Lamar Miller and Damon Williams. They'll probably be able to look at getting a 1-year deal on a free agent. Maybe even Lewis will get his guy back in Noshawn Marino. But Miami's not looking, I think, for a heavy carry back right now. They're looking more for a guy that's going to get 5 carries or at most 10 carries in a game that's a power running back. So they can get that later in the draft. I feel pretty good about sitting on that. And, going back to your D-back, I don't know where people are getting this. I know the announcers have been saying it, but I don't believe D-back is that big of a need for Miami.
If you think about it, Michael Thomas is waiting in the rings. They just signed in free agency. Who they signed? They
got Bowman and McCain, who are both capable defensive backs right now. They give them good depth.
In their secondary, and they're really relying on the young guys.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, if you draft a guy, right now, obviously Brett Grimes is going to be on the field almost every play. Jamar Taylor looked good. He's just as talented probably as any of the corners you're seeing in this draft. It's not a real high-end corner draft anyway. And Will Davis, don't forget about him. He'll be returning from injury. You've got 2 solid veterans. Michael Thomas can play some corner as well as safety. And Walt Aikens is another guy that can match up with some of the big receivers. And if you bring in a cornerback, where are you even putting him? You're going to have to cut somebody, or is he even going to be able to start? And so I've been all along saying I just don't think Miami needs a corner. Now, maybe next year, if Brett Grimes shows some age or he has some injuries, that they may be looking at it. But that's something you can address next season. It's not that hard to do. So I think far and away they need to look at the offensive line going forward. And, they still could use an inside linebacker. And even though the known ones are off the board, there's still a lot of talent in the inside. So I'm feeling pretty good where they're at. I think they may have to consider moving up into the 3rd round, or they're rolling the dice a little bit to get that guard yet that they need.
Max Williams was the Ravens just moved up 3 spots and took tight end Max Williams from Minnesota.
He was one of the higher ranked tight ends in this draft. It was a very poor draft if you were needing a tight end. So the Ravens, I believe they did. I don't. Is Todd Heap even on that team anymore? I don't even know who they're starting. They had Owen Daniels last year, right?
And Owen Daniels went to Denver.
Yeah, so the Ravens are just getting the best tight end available in the draft, so that's not too surprising.
It's kind of funny because not the general reaction, but some of the reaction on Dolphins Twitter is that they don't like the pick with Phillips, but a lot of the national media and other analysts saying that they do love the Phillips pick. So it's kind of interesting to see all the different viewpoints there.
Well, it's hard. I was saying this yesterday. Miami is in a unique draft because any draft, the premium positions are defensive line, offensive line, and quarterback, and those are critical players you got to get, and those are your common first and second round guys. And running backs and inside linebackers and guards are traditionally not high round picks. You can get starting caliber guys in the middle of the draft, and so you got to be patient and just look at, hey, this is a solid defensive tackle they picked up. He's very talented. He's very big. He's a great guy to mix in there with Sue. You're going to see a interior line now in Miami that's somewhat similar to what Detroit had last year, and so that's what you want. And so it's one of those things where you got to be patient. Everybody wants to see their need picks filled so they can go home and write the roster out on paper and feel all good about it. But there's a long ways to go yet.
So what do we got going on right now in the draft? We had the Ravens just picked Max Williams, a tight end, and this is the first tight end off the board, and there was really no standout special tight end in this year's draft. Unlike last year, we had Eric Ebron, and you had a few others that were up there that could have been taken in the first round and whatnot.
Baltimore's done a good job of at least adding some offense. We talked last night that who scared you on the Ravens offense, but they have a downfield threat now in Perryman, and Flacco's always been good with a good tight end. So if Max Williams can play a little bit this year and Perryman does anything, their offense has gotten a lot better the last few days.
So Dennis Hickey is currently talking to the media right now. He said that there is an earthquake from the defensive coaches room when Phillips was picked, saying that he was the best player available on the Dolphins draft board, and that they traded down having a good feeling of the way the board was going to fall. So it sounds like they were targeting Jordan Phillips, perhaps. Hickey said that the defensive line was really good to begin with, and now it's even better because you're adding young talent to the line. Phillips has back issues, but Hickey says the medical staff was comfortable with the issue and passed the physical with him. Now, there are some questions about Phillips' consistency and whatnot, but he says it's the team's job to get the most out of Phillips, but they believe that he's fully motivated and has a great passion and a hunger for the game of football. And that's something the Dolphins really talked about coming into the draft process, is getting these guys to get a passion for the game of football, to love it, to really, put their all into it and make it everything that they think about and do and eat, breathe, and sleep football. And that sounds like, well, at least according to Dennis Hickey, sounds like something Jordan Phillips is.
Yeah, again, it wasn't like this was a reach at all, so it just isn't as obvious of a need pick, but it is a need pick, and I have no problem with it. So I'm waiting to see how the rest of this draft plays out, but I don't know if that was an earthquake they had in the draft room or if it was a tsunami, but either way, it's a solid pick.
I see what you did there, Chad. It's pretty creative of you.
I know I'm clever like that.
Yeah, so anyways,
Hello.
man, hi, Lewis. When I first saw this pick come into the Twitter feed, I'm like, you know what? I don't really like it, but now I just keep on thinking about it, and I love this pick. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's you always got to keep in mind it's much harder to get solid defensive tackles than it is guards and linebackers, and so
The
it's
Dominican Sue and Jordan Phillips. If Jordan Phillips pans out, damn, this defensive line is going to be nasty.
yeah. I mean, last year it was the weakness.
What's your
Randy Starks and Earl
The
Mitchell were
reason
getting
why the
moved around
Dolphins
last
fell
year.
apart was because their defensive line in the middle cannot stop the run. No one is going to be running on the Dolphins. Nobody.
Nobody's gonna be running on the AFC East. I mean, to be honest, I mean the Jets are a nightmare up front. Buffalo's a nightmare up front.
Insane.
The Patriots have addressed their defensive line, so I mean, anybody that plays AFC East teams, I don't think you're going to come in and power run up the middle on them.
what you're feeling, what you're feeling, Matt, is the euphoria that would have eventually showed up if we had drafted Danny Shelton. Except now you're getting it from Phillips rather than Sheldon.
Right.
That was the temptation. That was the thing that everybody was talking about. And now that it's not actually Danny Shelton himself, that's why people are all upset, because it's not that guy.
I think they're pretty comparable. I wasn't huge on. I mean, Danny Shelton's a good player, but there's very few defensive tackles that are like Ndamukong Suh, where they can just stuff up the run and also put pressure up the middle on the pocket. And that's not, Jordan Phillips is not going to be this guy that's coming in and getting 10 sacks or anything, but he's a very, very stout guy in the middle that's going to be very difficult to block with one lineman, and you pair that with Ndamukong Suh, and they can wreak havoc in the center of that. And we want the pockets collapsing in there, and that's exactly what Miami's got right now. So again, I'm okay waiting on positions like guard and linebacker and running back and stuff, because those are very fillable.
Senquez Golson for the Pittsburgh Steelers, so now they're finally going to bolster that secondary.
They got their cornerback. I think they wanted a cornerback in round 1, but Kevin Johnson was taken before they had a chance to. And it doesn't look like they like Byron Jones enough to pick him there. So they get Senquez Golson. But that just goes to show. I mean, you had Ronald Darby, you had Senquez Golson. Dolphins just don't feel like the cornerback is a big need. And people want to say, oh, you should go best player available. And then when you do go best player available, people get mad like they are now. So you can't freaking win with these fans.
Well, that's the thing. Not everybody thinks he's best player available.
Well, what the hell do we know?
We know a lot. We're Dolphins draft Twitter, dang it.
We don't know nothing. We read scouting guides and make scouting guides, but we don't sit there for over a year doing our research, watching film, doing this every single day of our lives. So I think it's funny when people on Twitter and social media go all crazy about these things when they know nothing. Hell, the players don't even know if they're going to be successful in the NFL. The general managers don't know to pick them. The coaches don't know. The family doesn't know. Nobody knows if you're going to be successful in the NFL until you get to the NFL and start playing the damn game. And even then, when you start playing the game, within 3 years, you might not know until it takes you to develop. Jeez.
Slow down. Take a deep breath. Relax.
I'm getting excited.
You're getting. I'm not saying it.
Listen. Jordan Phillips
Who is Tito Samoa?
Jordan Phillips told the Miami media just now that he thought he was going to Miami the whole time.
Pisa Sino Samoa. Okay.
The Rams just took Rob Havenstein, a tackle from Wisconsin.
Oh, Rob Havenstein. Okay. Oh my God, 6'7". He's a monster. And he needs to get a haircut.
So the Rams took another tackle after taking a few last year.
The Rams took a tackle. He needs a haircut.
And the drop of T.J. Clemmings continues. He's still on the board.
Yeah, what's going on with him?
I'm guessing it's an injury concern.
So when do the Dolphins trade back into the third round?
Who knows? Maybe not at all. Maybe they really just want to have fourth rounders.
That'd be a little nuts.
Hickey did say he wants more picks, not less. Well, now he's got more picks.
So Jordan Phillips, talking to the Dolphins media, said, answering why he was so inconsistent, is because that was the system that he was in, he said, and he says you'll see a lot more coming up soon. So Phillips blaming it on the system. Omar Kelly, our favorite fan. I watched Jordan Phillips before the acquisition of Ndamukong Suh and wasn't a fan. He has ability but took too many plays off. So Spoon on Twitter says it's a lock. Jordan Phillips was a great pick.
I'll take Spoon.
Yeah, me too. All day, every day, over Omar.
Okay.
So some people are saying about TJ Clemmings that he has a bad knee. Which is the reason why teams are a little scared to take him.
Who's this guy for the Cardinals? Adrian Wilson.
Okay.
Didn't he just retire?
The Cardinals always pick these solid value guys.
Marcus Golden from Missouri.
Marcus Golden.
Not a bad pick.
Okay. What's the scouting report on him?
I'm going to pull it up right now. Let me find it here.
I think we're running out of gas here, that's all.
Where are we? Marcus Golden. And let's see where he is. All right, he's the scouting report done by Gabriel Burns. Marcus Golden is yet another NFL pass rushing prospect to come from Missouri. Throughout most of his career, he only took limited snaps because of all the talent on the line, but he has been impressive enough to be considered as early as a second round. Golden's first step stands out on film. He has excellent burst when the ball is snapped. He is able to locate the ball and attack. He has good football smarts and decent athleticism, though he is not very fast. Golden is a very physical player. Golden could improve his overall run defense. His technique is raw, and he will need to make significant improvements there. Golden will struggle at times with his lack of strength. He will often get slowed up by a blocker because he needs to develop more pass-rushing moves. But most of that can be coached when he gets inside his new team's facilities. Golden is a high-motor player that needs to improve as a pass rusher. Golden may benefit from more consistent playing time that he received in Missouri. Golden is still a raw player, and coaching will be the biggest factor in what he can become at the next level. Golden can be drafted anywhere between the second and fourth rounds. An NFL player comparison, Jeremiah Ataochu. Ataochu, I guess is how you say that. So sounds like Cardinals are getting a solid player, which is what they seem to always do.
It's what they do best, I suppose.
I love Bruce Arians.
Yeah, he's a really good coach right there. Okay, let's see what the Broncos pick. Who is this guy, and why is he making a speech?
I'm not sure. I'm not actually watching the coverage.
Oh, you're not? Oh, okay. So it's just me and Ryan.
Yeah, hard for me to watch the coverage and then do the podcast and update the site as the Dolphins make moves and whatnot.
I think if they make any moves, it's going to be trying to move up to round 3, maybe one of the first few picks.
Yeah, you think so?
Ty Sambrailo, another offensive tackle, goes to Denver.
Huh. Interesting.
Okay, that guy.
Sam, S-A-M-B, Sambrailo.
Uh-huh.
Let's get the scouting report on him.
Boy, I don't know what happened to TJ Clemmings' knee, but he must be terrible.
The 9th-rated offensive tackle in our Finmaniacs draft guide. Scouting report done by Gabriel Burns. Sambrello has the look of an NFL tackle, though he would need to fill out that frame a bit more. He is an above-average athlete with the ability to play inside if needed or preferred. His run blocking is the best trait he offers. If he starts as a rookie, expect a good run blocker that struggles in pass protection, regardless of where he lines up in 2015. Sambrello needs to become more powerful. He has a handful of technical issues that he will improve upon with professional coaching. Sambrello does seem to get shaken up when against stronger rushers, so as he adds more power, that problem should lessen. Ideally, he will not start immediately, but as mentioned earlier, his run blocking may force the team to start him as a rookie. His preseason will be huge. Tyler Sambrello should be a decent pro player and has the potential to improve. I see his best positional fit as right tackle. He has all the tools you could ask for physically, so expect a big step forward once he fills out and his technical issues are cleaned up in the NFL. There isn't a consensus on his stock, but some mocks before the draft had Sambrello going as early as the 2nd round. Gabriel Burns, who wrote the report, would rate him more in the 3rd round range. So expect to hear his name called on day 2, and of course, that just happened. NFL player comparison, Joe Staley.
And now the Cowboys with Darren Woodson making the pick.
All right, the Cowboys pick is in. It's up on Twitter. This is a very interesting one. We will wait for it's officially announced.
And they just announced it. Randy Gregory.
Gregory.
There you go, Randy Gregory. So after losing one really troublesome pass rusher, they go and draft another one. Good job, Dallas.
You know, the Cowboys were interested in Randy Gregory in the 1st round, and they considered taking him in the 1st round. They took Byron Jones instead and got Randy Gregory in the 2nd round.
Well, the Cowboys obviously don't care about anything other than their talent. They saw that Gregory was going to fall, and they took advantage of it.
Oh, yeah. Randy Gregory was the number 1 rated defensive end edge guy in our Finmaniacs draft guide. So this report was done by Shasky Clark, and here it is. After a highly productive 2 years as a starter in Nebraska, the super athletic Randy Gregory is one of the elite overall prospects in his class. Gregory is very long, highly explosive, and very smooth for a pass rusher. He aggressively uses his hands to separate from pass blockers and sported an extremely quick swim move to beat offensive tackles both inside and out. Gregory, however, could possibly be limited to playing a stand-up edge rushing linebacker role. He simply lacks the bulk to consistently build up as a full-time defensive end on the line of scrimmage. He is vulnerable to powerful, road-grading offensive lines that can push him around in the run game. With the report of his failed drug tests coming from the Combine, Clark at the time noted that it will be interesting to see how much he falls down the draft board, if at all. If he can get his head on straight, his rare combination of athleticism and production bode well for his chances of being a top pass rusher in the NFL. The ideal draft round for Clark, for Gregory, was the 1st, an NFL player comparison to Marcus Ware.
Another Cowboy. How ironic.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot argue with this pick. Great pick for the Cowboys. It's just his off-the-field issues. Man, the Cowboys got a ton of issues, huh? They got Dez Bryant, they got Greg Hardy, and now they got Randy Gregory.
Let's add some more. Why didn't they draft Dorial Green Beckham so they could let Dez go for cheap?
I'm sure they probably would have tried if they could have.
I swear that sometimes I wonder if the Dallas feels like that since they are America's team and the lore of the star on the helmet suddenly makes these players not troublemakers anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we obviously don't know anything about it. There's a reason why he dropped this far.
He dropped this far because he couldn't stay off the weed. And yes, I keep doing the Stephen A. impression because it seems so stupid to me that you would throw away potentially millions of dollars for this.
I can't believe you watch Stephen A. Smith.
I only watch Stephen A. Smith for the weed.
Nice.
Or when he's complaining about Tebow. I don't watch them for sports analysis. I watch them for entertainment.
Well, it is the Entertainment and Sports Network, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got 4 more picks in the second round. Then we're going to move to the third round.
And hopefully the Dolphins do something and make our night at least a little more interesting.
Going to be very interesting to see if the Dolphins are trading back in round 3. I think they will. I really think they will. I think they're going to trade back into round 3 for an offensive guard.
Well, Marpett's still there. I don't know what's up with him either.
Yeah.
Or maybe Clemmings. Since we're willing to take Jordan Phillips with the back issues, maybe we're going to go with Clemmings with his knee. Of course, if that happens.
You know, one thing interesting about La'el Collins is earlier today his agent threatened that he would not sign a contract if he wasn't drafted today.
Then let him wait until next year, I suppose.
But does that really give off a good impression? I mean, the Dolphins want guys who are passionate about football. If you're passionate about football, you're going to come in and work your butt off and prove yourself, right?
Okay, well, here's the thing, though. This is the other argument, and I kind of agree with this. If he's innocent and he has nothing to do with this whole mess, then he has been wrongfully persecuted and punished, and he's been cheated out of millions of dollars because of something he was innocent of. So I honestly have no problem with him waiting until next year, because I mean, if you had been drafted in the first round like you were supposed to, you're going to make a lot more money than if you were going to be drafted in the third round. And the farther you drop it in the draft, the less money you're going to get. And as much as you love football, if you know that your talent is going to have you in the first round, and then something stupid like this, and you're completely innocent, then why would you go in now? Why don't you just wait and then try again? Your talent is still there. Everybody knows what you can do. I honestly don't have a problem with him wanting to do this. If he is innocent, he's been cheated out of millions of dollars for no reason other than people are paranoid. I don't like that.
I mean, I guess you're right. That's the downside of it.
I just wanted to throw in here, even on La'el Collins, he is a senior, so if he decides not to sign, he doesn't have any eligibility left, from what I understood earlier, to re-enter the draft next year. So he would not be eligible to be drafted next year and would have to sign as a free agent.
Well, I don't know then. But it's like, I can understand his frustration. And I keep saying it, if he's innocent, because I don't know. We don't know if he's innocent. He really may be having an issue here. But if he's innocent, can you imagine how you must feel knowing that millions of dollars just slipped out of your fingers because some person decided to get you into trouble for something you didn't do?
Well, here's a question you guys might know as well. If he does become a free agent, is there a limit to the amount of money that you can offer a free agent? Because as an unrestricted free agent after the draft, what's to stop teams from getting in a bidding war to give him a bunch of money? If the Dolphins say, "Yep, I'll give you $2 million," and somebody else looks at it and says, "I'll give you $3 million," can they get into a bidding war after the draft, or is there a certain slotted amount that free agents are allowed to receive?
You know, I'm really not sure about that. That's something that would have to be looked up.
So we got the Buccaneers on the clock, correct?
Their pick is in. We're just waiting.
Okay.
NFL Network is taking forever with this.
Yeah,
I think
they're
Spoon
covered.
said ESPN is doing better than this.
Yeah. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Lewis and Ryan, hold on the fort.
Hurry up. We're out of stuff to talk about.
All right, so we got the Bucs on the clock. Talked about La'el Collins. We talked about Jordan Phillips, and I just keep on saying the more and more we talk about Jordan Phillips, I love the pick more and more.
Yeah, I guess as far as I'm concerned, Jordan Phillips was a good move just because you kind of now you have that kind of the fantasy that you've been wanting this whole time of the 1-2 punch in the middle. So now you potentially have Wake and Sue and Phillips and Vernon, assuming Phillips wins the job, because I'm honestly not convinced that Phillips will be able to beat out Earl Mitchell just because Kevin Coyle doesn't like the whole rookie thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, if this is what it comes down to, I'm okay with it. I guess I'm not thrilled. As long as we get some kind of offensive lineman coming up next, like if we can trade back up into the third or maybe this late second, like out of nowhere, then I would be perfectly fine with it. We just got to find a guard somewhere, because if we wind up leaving this draft and Dallas Thomas is still in competition for the left guard spot, I'm not going to be a happy camper.
There are quite a few good offensive guards still left. You got Lale Collins, T.J. Clemmings. I mean, they're both tackles, but they.
Well, if Collins doesn't get picked now, we're not going to get any. Nobody's getting him.
A.J. Cann, Trey Jackson, Jarvis Harrison. So there are quite a few left. It just depends on where they're going to go. Linebackers, you still got guys like Paul Dawson, Eli Harold still available. But I've been told the Dolphins really love Junior Sylvester. Cornerback, you guys got P.J. Williams, Quinton Rollins, Lorenzo Doss, Dijon Smith. Safety, Deron Smith, Anthony Harris, Curtis Drummond, Gerard Holliman, who took a visit with the Dolphins a few weeks ago. Running back, who knows? Duke Johnson, Tevin Coleman, David Cobb, who I love. Could go something there. Jalen Strong is still on the board. Rashad Green.
Ali Marpet just went off the board to Tampa Bay.
There he goes.
All right, Lewis, take away that scouting report. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Oh, Ally Marpet. No, we needed his services. Okay, fine. We'll find someone else. All right, let's get Ally Marpet up here. Let's see. Coming out of Hobart College. Ally Marpet is the 4th ranked guard on our scouting thing here, and Jeff Hyde's the one who made it. The only knock on Marpet that he can see is that he hasn't faced quality football talent before. Growing up in New York State, Marpet was always the biggest player on the field and seemed to tower over his competition. And once he went to Hobart College, that didn't change. Marpet made a name for himself at the Senior Bowl in Alabama in front of hundreds of scouts and coaches, and the question mark around his level of competition versus the big boys could be enough to keep his name completely off of teams' draft boards. Well, obviously that didn't happen. Personally, he views Marpet as a top 5 guard in the class. His combination of technical blocking in both the running and passing games is second to none in this draft class. He's a guy who's going to give 100% on every snap. We could have used that. His one concern would be how he deals with an aggressive bull rush from an NFL-type player at the next level. Up to this point in his career, his upper body strength has been enough to anchor down and move defenders out of his way. He needs to prove that he has lower body strength and footwork to consistently take the pass rush, and now we have the Packers doing on to their thing. Everybody's booing them. Looks like Donald Driver doing the announcing for the Green Bay Packers here.
He has a great bow tie on.
Yeah. I don't understand the thing with bow ties. Is that I'd rather, what's wrong with a regular tie anyway?
Quentin Groves, a cornerback from Miami of Ohio.
Rollins. I heard Groves. It's like, who's Groves?
Oh, it is Quentin Rollins. Yeah, I think he said Quentin Groves. It's Quentin Rollins, sorry.
It's like, who's Groves? Rollins. Okay, whatever. Okay, the 14th ranked cornerback according to on our list. And this one was also done by Jeff Hyde. Quentin Rollins, often described as a natural athlete, very physically gifted, and is a great frame for the cornerback spot. He's a former basketball player, 5'11", and he's a former basketball player. Okay, whatever. He can leap out of the gym. He displays good balance, quick feet, and quickness to play corner at the next level, but needs to improve his technique. He has only 1 year of college football experience, and shows the little things such as peeking into the backfield too often or biting on subtle head fakes show up too often on tape and could lead towards teams that need a corner that can play now from keeping him off their board until the middle rounds. He'll likely need a couple of years to become the elite corner that he can be, but a team that is willing to take the risk could be heavily rewarded down the road. Rollins' athleticism is too tough to pass up in the middle rounds, and see him coming off the board in the 3rd round. Well, that was a little earlier than we expected. And now the Seattle Seahawks are going to do their picks. Now they're coming in fast. I can't keep up.
This is Seattle's first pick, too.
Kenny Easley? I don't know him either. Just pick the pick. Huh?
Said the same thing, just make the pick. Frank Clark, defensive end, Michigan.
Frank Clark?
Defensive end, Michigan.
Oh, boy. Okay, I don't even know who this guy is, but he's the 6th-ranked defensive end according to our draft guide. Shasky Clark, another Clark, Shasky Clark made his scouting report. Clark is an interesting prospect because of the combination of his athleticism and upside with his multiple off-field issues and arrests. Okay,
They just said on NFL Network there were 3 or 4 teams that he had so many troubles that 3 or 4 teams had taken them completely off of their boards.
Wow.
That they wouldn't have drafted him under any scenario.
I guess if there's anywhere he could go, it would be the Legion of Boom. As a player, Clark possesses excellent speed and explosiveness for an edge rusher and has the elite overall athleticism to threaten any blocker. He also has a strong build with very long arms for his height. Clark certainly made plays but is very inconsistent actually getting to the quarterback. He could use some more polish and forethought in his moves and counter moves, but it remains to be seen if he can be a high-volume sack artist. Biggest concerns for him are the multiple arrests for home invasion and domestic violence, as well as his November 2014 dismissal from Michigan. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Okay, well, that's fine. Okay,
that would explain why they took him off.
Yeah. Okay, now the Patriots. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's Jalen Strong.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Duke Johnson.
I would hate both picks because they're great.
Ty Law. Wow.
Do they pick
him I
Ty
recognize.
Law? They know Ty Law's retired. They can't pick him.
Yeah.
Jordan Richards, defensive back. Stanford.
I don't know who he is either. Okay, so the running back. I thought this was a deep running back draft, so I guess they really don't care after all. Nice picture, though.
I would not be surprised at all to see Dallas make a move up to the top of round 3 to get Duke Johnson or Tevin Coleman.
Well, they're not. They don't have DeMarco Murray, and they don't have Adrian Peterson, so they need somebody. Boy, Indy didn't waste any time. The pick is in already. Okay, there's no way they're going to go for another wide receiver, so they must be going off. They must be going offensive line now.
I just want to jump in here. We have Frank Clark as our 6th-rated defensive end in our Phoenix draft guide, and we got killed by some people for that, saying that we had no idea what we were talking about. We got killed for saying that his ideal draft time was the 2nd round. Guess what, folks? Guess where Frank Clark just got drafted?
Okay, Matt.
2nd round.
Oh, boy.
Yep. By the Seattle Seahawks.
Hey, Matty. You need to have... hey.
And breaking news, he just broke into somebody else's house.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. No one's picked Michael Bennett. No one's picked Jalen Strong. What's going on here? Is Jalen Strong all beat up too?
I don't know.
There's a lot of these players that are just falling down and nothing.
Man, there are a lot of good players just falling. I mean, either we know nothing, and all this stuff has been
Well, you did say you said very emphatically earlier that we know nothing. We have no idea what we're talking about.
This just proves it. I'm just catching up on the picks here. Packers picked Quentin Rollins. I liked him. 5'11", though, kind of small, but Dolphins love those kind of guys. Jordan Richards, strong safety for the Patriots. Ali Marpet, Buccaneers. That's a great pick. Ali Marpet. He's probably going to need a year to develop, though. I'm surprised Jalen Strong is dropped out of the second round. People were talking about him as a possible first-round pick as little as a few weeks ago.
Apparently, he just can't get. Apparently, the idea of him having to fight for the ball all the time because he can't get separation is a major turnoff.
Yeah, I guess, right?
Okay.
So
I'll be back give me a couple of minutes. I'll be right back.
All right. So the third round is where the compensatory picks will come in, and that will, of course, be at the end of the round. 33rd, 34th, and 35th pick in this round. The Patriots will have back-to-back picks at the end of the round. Those picks cannot be traded away. The Chiefs have a compensatory selection, and the Bengals do as well. The Dolphins originally had the 14th pick, but they traded it to the Saints for Kenny Stills. So right now we can say that the Dolphins basically drafted Kenny Stills in round 3. But I think it's very possible, there's a very good chance the Dolphins trade into the middle to lower part of round 3. And we need to definitely keep an eye on the offensive linemen because it seems like perhaps the Dolphins might target that. And that's what it seems that there are the most players available left. You got Trey Jackson and A.J. Candy. You have to hope that they start falling a little bit down the board. You got T.J. Clemmings. You got the knee injury there. La'el Collins, we all know his story. The Dolphins are looking at running back. You still got guys like Duke Johnson on the board, Tevin Coleman, David Cobb. The Dolphins are looking at possibly linebacker. You still got Paul Dawson and Eli Harold on the board. So that's something definitely to keep an eye on as far as the cornerbacks go. P.J. Williams, Lorenzo Doss.
Matt, DeJohn Smith, another defensive back, just went to the Colts.
DeJohn Smith went to the Colts. The Dolphins were interested in him. He visited with the Dolphins. Let's take a look at his scouting report. I wasn't too impressed with him, and it seems like our scouting analysts weren't either, listing him as a 22nd rated cornerback in the Fin Maniacs Draft Guide report done by Jeff Hyde. DeJohn Smith possesses a few traits that NFL scouts and coaches look for, but also lacks some important qualities at the position as well. He is an athletic corner who plays an aggressive style of football. He has good feet and shows an ability to cover a lot of ground on short passes by breaking quickly on the ball. He is a bit undersized but has a lot of confidence in his ability, and he has shown the important ability to have a short memory when things don't go his way. The concerns that scouts have with Smith is his range, speed, and instincts. He doesn't possess top-line speed to stay with the wide receivers down the field and could become a liability in the deep passing game. As far as his instincts go, at times Smith looks like he is guessing on receiver routes instead of reading his man and making his break. He can get caught off balance and end up giving up big plays at times when matched up one-on-one. Smith has a competitive nature but could likely find himself being a late-round draft pick fighting for a roster spot come August. The ideal draft round, according to Hyde, is late 6th, early 7th. And, man, I don't understand what the Colts are doing. I have no idea.
Apparently they had so much faith in their boy Andrew Luck they don't feel the need to actually get him some protection.
Oh, my God, their picks. Wait. Yeah, Philip Dorsett and DeJohn Smith, I don't get it. I don't understand this. But what do I know, right? What do I know?
We need to get a fresh voice in here. We're tired.
Oh, I'm just ready to go.
Yeah, I know you're ready to go. You've had a couple of whatevers.
What, did you have a long day today?
No, I had a yeah. Besides that,
Well, tell me a story, Lewis, while we have a little downtime here going on.
okay, I'll tell you a little story.
Your favorite Dolphins draft moment.
I don't have that many, guys. I haven't been paying that much attention up until recently. Remember?
Okay, so give us your latest draft memory, the one that you remember.
Trading up to get Deion Jordan in 2013. Except that's not a great memory anymore. It was. It's not anymore. I was so excited. I thought Deion Jordan was going to be Jason Taylor because Jason Taylor said that he could be Jason Taylor. But then he decided to do things, and then everything broke.
Now, here's the thing. I was out with my friends, and I wasn't too into the draft like I am now. So I thought it was a great pick. I mean, I'm sure if I knew more about the draft, I would have known that he had just converted to defensive end / linebacker after playing tight end for a few years, and probably known that he wasn't very passionate about the game of football. Funny about the Patriots draft pick Jordan Richards to the Patriots, one guy saying Dane Brugler, let's click on his name, he's from NFLDraftScout.com, says it's his first low pick for him. He wasn't convinced he was even draftable. So that's a little crazy, huh?
So far, this whole draft process has been crazier than crazy.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of good players falling that we didn't expect to be falling, and there's some players that, well, there's always players that are picked that we didn't think would get picked this early.
Okay, Titans, who do you got?
Jeremiah Putasi, another tackle.
Yep, let me pull up the scouting report on him.
Is he Hawaiian?
No, I don't think so. Jeremiah Putasi is the 11th rated offensive tackle on the FinManiacs draft guide. The evaluation was done by Gabriel Burns. He has high upside, good value pick in the 2015 draft. While Putasi isn't exactly a big game, his play was pleasantly surprising. Putasi has excellent foot speed for his size. His combination of quickness and strength was notable. Most evaluators see his position being guard at the next level, which is likely the case. He is a raw prospect. He still has a long way to go technically. He struggled to balance his weight, but NFL conditioning should keep that under control. His weight has prevented him from being very flexible, which further fuels the argument to play him inside. Watching him reminded me of Buffalo's Cyril Richardson, but it is worth noting that he views Putasi as a much better prospect. The lack of flexibility and finishing are similar, but overall Putasi has better movement, and in general, it's just...
Matt, the Jags are picking.
AJ Cann just went. Another guard is off the board.
That's important. Let me finish up Putasi. Putasi could prove to be a valuable mid-round selection. A team could decide to try him out at tackle, but more than likely will play him at guard. He showed drastic improvement over the last couple of seasons, so perhaps he can grasp the pro game quicker than many expect. He'll compete for a backup spot in camp. Following a year of more seasoning, he could be a potential starter. Now, the news about A.J. Cann, I just mentioned literally minutes ago that was a name to keep an eye on for the Dolphins as someone who could trade back into round 3. He is off the board. So, someone mentioned that the Dolphins might be willing to trade one of the 5th-round picks for Evan Mathis. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think Evan Mathis is going to be gone for a 5th-round pick. If he is, I'd be shocked.
You think
especially since the Eagles gave us 2 of their 5th-round picks.
You think
so? It's like, okay, we'll give it back, but you have to take. We'll give you Evan Mathis. I don't understand. If you're going to do that, why don't you just get it out of the way and trade Mathis as it is? Like, why come back and trade Mathis again?
I don't know. I mean, why do the Dolphins not want him? That's the big question.
Because he's old.
Well, well, why else?
I know he's the best. Well, what do you need another reason? He's old.
Yeah, but he can be a stopgap for a year or two.
I understand that. I'm not arguing that. I wanted Evan Mathis a long time ago, but he's old.
If I'm the Dolphins and I don't trade back into round 3 to get an offensive guard, I am thinking about trading something to the Eagles for Evan Mathis.
If we were going to get Evan Mathis, I would have thought we would just go and do it again. It's like, why come back and trade with the Eagles again? Just give us Mathis to begin with, and you can keep one of your 5th rounders.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the Dolphins should very much consider it. I know you disagree with that, but I think that
I don't disagree with it. I just don't get it. It's like, if you want to go back and trade for Mathis now, after you've already traded with the Eagles once, fine, whatever, get Mathis. But it's like, just me thinking, it's like, I don't understand why you would have to go back. Why don't you just do it to begin with?
Well,
I'm speaking from an efficiency standpoint.
Perhaps they thought that they were going to get an offensive guard in this draft, and they didn't want to handcuff themselves.
That's a possibility as well. Ryan, are you still there?
Yep, I'm still here.
You're quiet.
I'm just listening. I'm letting the Dolphins people talk away about the Dolphins here.
You're not a Dolphin person?
I am. Dolphins are probably my second favorite team.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh my. Wait a second. So who's your first? I need to know this.
Oh, we talked about this last night. You missed it. I'm a Cowboys fan.
Oh no. Really?
Yep, I grew up. My grandpa was a Hawkeye fan, and then about the time I met Chad and found out he was a Dolphins fan, and I followed the Dolphins ever since. I follow the Dolphins. I like what the Dolphins do, but I'm a Cowboys fan at heart first, unfortunately. So.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
That's why I said something about Gregory earlier, and why I said something about Dallas possibly moving up to get a running back here.
Jeez, man. And here I thought you were like true and blue, bleeding aqua and orange. No, there's some black and silver in there somewhere. It's like or is it navy blue?
Yeah, there is. It's blue and silver.
It's like I've come to not like the Cowboys thanks to Skip Bayless. So I completely blame Skip for me hating the Cowboys.
I'm intrigued by the Randy Gregory move because I do not think that his name is just I can't think of it. I don't think Greg Hardy's suspension is going to be 10 games. So I think his suspension is going to get reduced, and Dallas will actually be able to put a little pressure on the quarterback this year with Gregory and Hardy.
As far as I'm concerned, it's like whatever, man. Okay, since we got you back on here, let's at least try to get some regular groove back in here. Let's talk some fantasy stuff. Let's talk about the fantasy impact so far that might come from a Jordan Phillips, since the defense is also part of the fantasy football thing.
I agree with what you guys said. I personally love the pick for Miami. I look at what Detroit did last year, and they shored up the middle of that defense. And what I look at, especially not even from a fantasy standpoint, but what does New England do when they get to the playoffs? From a Miami standpoint, what does New England do when they get to the playoffs? They pound the ball down teams' throats. They can throw the ball all year. They get to the playoffs and they run the ball. Miami has given them a chance to go up against a team like that, running the ball in the playoffs to stop New England. I like the pick for New England or for Miami. From a fantasy standpoint, being able to stop the run will put more pressure on the defensive backs. You probably might see some more interceptions, more return touchdowns, but Miami had a decent fantasy defense last season. I started them in a couple of my leagues for over half the year.
Yeah, and then suddenly it all fell apart after Denver, and things just went terrible for everybody, including the fantasy lovers.
Yep.
I think a lot of what happened is that Louis Delmas went down, and I know people are going to get on me because of that, because everybody knows that I love me some Louis Delmas. And I mean, hey, there were some interesting stats about how the points per game went way up once Delmas went down. So I don't find that as a coincidence at all.
Seattle moved up from pick 95 to round 69 and gave up a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth to get there.
Wow. Seattle's obviously not interested in getting more picks. I think they're happy with what they got. Are they looking for another guard so they can run the ball with Marshawn Lynch better in the Super Bowl and win the game so New England can't?
Did Seattle pick?
No, not yet. This is the Raiders pick.
We saw the leak on Twitter about the Raiders pick.
Clive Walford.
And that's very interesting because some people say that he's not very passionate about football.
Well, he may not be passionate about football, but he sure is passionate about himself. Saying he's the best tight end in the draft. I think he's, if anything, if his best shot at this point is that he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder because Max Williams got picked first.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't follow Omar anymore. Is he loving on this pick?
I don't think many people follow Omar, who's actually a real Dolphins fan. The Texans traded up to the 6th overall pick in round 3. The Jets traded down. So that's an interesting one. Texans are trading up.
You know what, guys? I'm wondering if maybe we should start to end the show because, I mean, unless we bring in someone else to talk, because I love you guys, but it's getting stale.
No, you're absolutely correct. And considering the Dolphins may or may not trade up into the 3rd round, we're just going to be going ahead and giving our analysis, and this is a Fin Maniacs show. It's a Dolphins show. So I think you're absolutely right when you say we should start wrapping this show up. So, if the Dolphins might trade up, hopefully they do. If they do, we'll get some posts up on the site regarding it. So be sure to stay tuned to our Twitter accounts and our website for news updates. We have a jam-packed show tomorrow. We will be back on the air tomorrow at 11:15 a.m. And just to give you a preview of what's to come for tomorrow, let me just run down the guest list for you guys because we truly have an all-star schedule lined up for tomorrow. Starting at 11:15, we are going nonstop. 11:15, we have Andrew Abramson from the Palm Beach Post. 11:30, we have Greg Likens from the Finsiders. 11:50, we have Brian Atkins, NFL agent for many guys who are being selected in day 3. 12:45, Ian Wharton of the Bleacher Report. 1 o'clock, Randy McMichael, former tight end for the Miami Dolphins. 2:45, Arif Hassan from the Bleacher Report. At 3:30, Rob Profits, who is very well known on Twitter. We are still working on finalizing some more guests for tomorrow, but it is looking like a jam-packed show for tomorrow. Again, we'll be on the air tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, 11:15, to recap everything the Dolphins have done and then to just get some little reactions here and there as the Dolphins make their picks. And as I'm talking right now, Jalen Strong has gone to the Texans. I love Jalen Strong. He's in the AFC still, but I'm glad he's not in the AFC East.
Well, it had to happen sometime. So I guess Jalen Strong is going to be the new Andre Johnson.
I guess so, and I think he could fit that role pretty nicely. All right, so that is going to be it for tonight. We're going to sign off the air a little early because there's no point really in us waiting around seeing if the Dolphins are going to trade up. We'll have plenty of analysis on Twitter and whatnot. But for those of you who joined us live, thank you for joining us. For those who are listening to this on tape delay and going back to this, we hope you enjoyed our analysis throughout the show. Yes, we did get a little quiet at times. Wasn't a whole lot to talk about in different points of the draft. But that's the way the draft goes. You get things that you don't expect. You get things that just come out of nowhere, and you get things that just don't really deserve a reaction or whatnot. So we'll see. Tomorrow is a new day. Round 4, 5, 6, and 7. I think the Dolphins have like ridiculous 6 or 7 picks tomorrow. So it's going to be nuts. It's going to be a jam-packed day, and we'll have you covered fully on our Twitter feeds and finmaniacs.com. Thanks for joining us, guys. You guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you Saturday morning.